If it's not there about, it's getting unwrapped. So drop your questions, drop your doubts. Steve's here sorting all the truth from the cloud. No panic, no spin, no agenda to flatter. Just one simple rule: facts still matter. Facts still matter. Say it louder, say it louder. Truth cuts through all the noise, that's power. Steve's in the chat with the real-time data. Drop that spin, we'll fact check it later. Facts still matter, yeah, we're keeping receipts. Headlines fine, but we repass the tweets. If it's news, if it's now, Steve breaks it down. Cause the truth hits different when the facts come out.
Good morning, my friends. Welcome to the morning after. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. We know you got many choices to make every single day, and we're super grateful that you guys choose to spend some time with us. So thank you. Tapping is clapping, liking is loving, sharing is caring. Don't forget, there's a gifting goal today. Help us get and stay on the FYP. We really appreciate you. We are crowdfunded here. We are marching towards our 25K goal for our Do Something tour happening over the course of the spring through the summer into the fall. We passed $2,700 yesterday. Thank you to everyone who has donated so far. We are still on the lookout for sponsors, have a couple of ideas. If you are interested in perhaps being a keynote sponsor of the tour, please reach out to me. You can also go to the link tree that's in my bio. You'll find information on the Do Something Tour IG page. There's contact information there as well. So there's that. Speaking of the link tree, we're gonna do this. Okay. Speaking of the link tree, if you head on over there, you'll find the link to our Discord. We also have information about the tour in the Discord as well. Join our family. It's a great community. We're proud of it. If you have an issue with the link for some reason, you can copy the URL, paste it to a browser, and it will open automatically on your device, assuming that you have it installed. Or you can reach out to one of our amazing moderators. They can talk you through it too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, Facts HQ is the Facts merch store. A bunch of information there as well. A whole bunch of brand new items. If you want to pick something up, that'd be really cool. We'd appreciate that. Wear with pride, including the I Dissent shirt as well. All that at factsstillmatter.site or Facts HQ, which you'll find in the link tree that's in my bio. Thank you, and welcome to the show. So, yeah. Well, listen, I summarized everything for you that happened last night, and it's really this.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
So, shout out to RTP because I know he streamed it last night. It was fun just watching. And we thought about doing it. And this is what it came down to me, right? We kind of knew what to expect. And, you know, I'm going to go through some of the fact checking because I think there's some things that are really, really important. But I try to be objective with all these things. I have never seen anything like that in my life, ever. I mean, it was a combination of True Social post, Trump rally, campaign ad, one lie after another, one untruth rhetoric. I mean, dividing the country. Like he expects Democrats to cheer for tax breaks for the rich. And again, of course, you watch the spin, and I couldn't sleep last night. So I'm watching some of the posts from X and from some people that were hosting lives saying it was the greatest speech they've ever seen. That's what this is about, right? This is about normalizing this kind of behavior, which is what predators do. They groom their victims. Throw so much information out there, just expect them to believe everything. And that's what this is about, right? He's been grooming his flock for a decade or more. And we saw it on full display last night. I mean, people cheering. And I'm thinking, this is obviously, we've been talking about this for a while, but this is the end of MAGA, because what are down ballot Republicans expected to do? How do they go back to their districts when they're already on the hot seat? They're already fighting for their political lives. What do they run on? How do they go back to their districts and say, you know, for the president to tell us all these things in the State of the Union? Typically speaking, what happens with the State of the Union is you set your legislative agenda for the year. And then, especially during an election year, you give people in your party something to run on. What are they going to run on? Affordability? Don't forget, they tried this the last time, and it didn't work. So Stephen Colbert had a member of the press on after the event last night. So his show went on late. And I want to play this for you because I think it's a really great wrap up. This is who joined him? John Dickerson. And I think this is kind of what I thought about it as well. Like, there are certain things that you have to be able to stand on. Like, you've got to be able to highlight some policy position. That's the intention of the modern day State of the Union, right? You go into this thinking, okay, these are the things that we're going to address. And then you give your representative in your party the ability to go back to their districts or to their states and say, we are consistent with the messaging. What kind of ads are the Republicans going to run? I mean, seriously. Now the push then becomes on how the Democrats respond. You just got to let Trump fucking talk. That's the best ad. That's the best ad you can possibly get. If I was a political scientist, and I was a campaign strategist, which I kind of am. That would be my message. We'll just play sound bites. We'll just play sound bites. So here is John. What's his name again? John Dickerson on Colbert last night. Hold on.
It's Americans and American companies.
Hold on. Here we go.
The case he had to make, he made a case to Republicans. There was some theatricality that was pure Donald Trump and that his base will love. And that matters in an off-year election, a non-presidential election. So his base will be thrilled by a lot of the things that happened when he called.
Yeah, rhetoric, right? Exactly. His base will be filled. We'll love it. The rhetoric, dropping the old standards, transgender for everyone, crime, corruption, blah, fucking blah. That works for his base. That works. Which again, that is by design. We are just going to fire up people. We're going to make them angry at the people that we've been telling them to be angry at. And meanwhile, we're doing nothing for them. Not only doing nothing for them, we are actually making life harder for them.
The Democrats sick and crazy.
Yes.
That's great. Okay. That's not his problem, though. His problem is that the country thinks the thing that he was elected to do, and when I say the country, the majority in polls show that people think the thing he was elected to do, which was to lower prices and deal with the economy, he's not doing a good job. Majority says they disapprove of the job he's doing on the economy.
Yeah.
They think he's not handling prices.
Yeah.
And the thing that he's doing, his major economic initiative, tariffs, they don't like. So his job in the speech was to address that. And what he essentially did was say, we're winning. He said
the thing that you feel, no, you don't, is what he said to the viewers.
Exactly. It's the
That's their entire strategy, what he just summarized there. Tell them whatever I want to tell them, whether they're feeling it or not. And that was a mistake that I think the Biden administration made as well, coming off of C-19, right? As we saw inflation spike, as inflation was coming down, the messaging from the White House at that time was, hey, inflation's down. Well, costs were already up. So it didn't land on kitchen tables. And the Trump administration did not learn their lesson. Because they put everything on tariffs, on the economic approach, tariffs and immigration. And they're failing miserably at both. So that's been the message, right?
toughest thing to do in politics, which is to say, you're not feeling what you're feeling.
Which is what kind of sunk Joe Biden in his economic message. He said, it's going great.
It's sunk everyone who has tried to do this. And Trump just straight up, he was 3 minutes in, and he had lied about growth. He had lied about inflation. Then later, he lied about who pays tariffs. It's not foreign countries. It's Americans and American companies. And then he said he was going to get rid of the income tax, which you can't do through tariffs. But by the way, if you were going to do it, you'd be taxing people through their purchases.
Correct.
To replace the income tax. So it doesn't make any sense anyway. The case he had.
So, and I want to talk about that just briefly real quick. But again, that was the entire, that should be the goal of the SOTU, right? The State of the Union. You set your legislative agenda for the upcoming year, for the forthcoming year, and then everything from the messaging machine from top to bottom is always consistent. You want to revert back to the messaging from the top of the ticket, which in this case is the president. Well, you know, the tariff decision was crazy, and he kind of called out the SCOTUS, and I was watching sort of some of the reactions from members of the SCOTUS. They're just kind of, you know, stoic. They're not supposed to react. SCOTUS and the Army or the military brass, you know, the Joint Chiefs, they're supposed to be apolitical by design, so they didn't react at all. But funny thing, though, MAGA, question for you guys. If foreign countries paid the tariffs, then why aren't they demanding the refunds? Why is it there's conversations about tariff refunds going to American citizens and to American businesses? You don't hear European countries, foreign countries, China, East Asia, whomever that might be. You don't hear them asking for their money back now, do you? That's a big tell. So again, I just think it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster, a disaster that we saw coming, right? To be honest, I was hedging my bets. I probably would have lost money if I was put to task to say whether or not he was going to do it or not. But then I'm like, oh yeah, the narcissist. It was just a red, white, and blue glaze fest. Hyper nationalism. You roll out the U.S. Olympic hockey team. You talk about medals of freedom. All these kinds of things. It was just an absolute fucking disaster. And anybody who's willing to see through it will understand that. Look through your cult, blinders, and just realize it was just a disaster. And Barbara McQuaid said it best, right? I think the president is doing what predators do, and that is grooming his victims. He is desensitizing the public to this idea that corruption is not a big deal. I think that's it, right? Corruption, crimes against humanity, just the blatant disregard for constitutional law, ignoring the courts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, think of this. The president of the United States just saying no to the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, saying no to them, or I should say not taking no for an answer. He's in a room with a survivor. You think he's going to take no for an answer then? I would say no. So I want to get into some of the obvious and easily fact-checked pieces from last night. Okay, start from the top. I took notes. Okay, let's see here. Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. I appreciate you all very, very much. Quote, inherited a stagnant economy with record inflation. That is false. Economists, and this is all from Fact Check. Economists and federal data show real GDP growth under President Biden averaged above trend, and inflation, while once high, fell to much lower levels before Trump took office. Trump's framing exaggerates the baseline condition he claims to inherited. False. It's not opinion. This is objectively true. And this is the difference between, this is the thing about our friends on the right, is they genuinely believe that there are two sets of facts, right? The actual facts, and then what Trump tells them. This is the indoctrination. This is the grooming. Yes, I took notes. You don't have to. You're welcome. Good call. Economy is roaring like never before. GDP growth in 2025 slowed compared with previous years, and unemployment ticked up slightly. While some indicators do show strength, growth was not unprecedented. Yes, words matter. It's not the weave. They're fucking lies. Okay? More Americans working than ever before. Obviously extremely misleading because unemployment is high in absolute terms. I should say employment is high in absolute terms, but the claim does not account for population growth and a slowing job growth rate. In fact, we're losing jobs, as we know. Stock market record claims. That is true, right? But it's mixed. There have been multiple stock market records since 2024, but gains have lagged some global markets, and Trump's broader claims about market performance are sometimes framed without full context. Shocker. Inflation down to lowest level in decades. Partly true, inflation's down, but inflation has declined, but prices overall are still rising, and the impact varies by item. For example, energy and food, two of the leading drivers for CPI, are all the way up, are up significantly above the CPI rate of 6%, 7%? Gas prices. Mega, pay attention. This is for you guys, okay? Gas prices now below $2.36 a gallon nationwide. That is a quote. Gas prices now below $2.36 a gallon nationwide. There is absolutely no truth to that whatsoever. I use the EIA, so it's the EIA.gov. It's the Energy Information Administration. They've been tracking this. They have gas prices per month going back decades, okay? When Joe Biden left office at the end of December, let's say December, the last full month under his administration, gas prices were $3.13 a gallon. What EIA does is they capture everything, all blends, all mixtures. They include diesel, They include premium, super premium, regular unleaded, all of it. So when they measure this, in fact, the headline of the chart that I use is U.S. all grades, all formulations, retail gasoline prices, dollars per gallon. The president's claim, $2.36 nationally. Okay? Nationally. You can only do this with a national average. Again, at the end of December 2024, gas prices nationally, $3.13 a gallon. I'll round it up, $3.14 a gallon. At the end of February, gas prices nationally are $3.03 a gallon. I'll round that up, $3.10 a gallon. That's 4 cents. That's 4 cents a gallon. 4 cents a gallon that you're celebrating as American citizens are being murdered in the street. As the Epstein files, day 68 of the Trump files of the Trump administration and the Department of Justice breaking the federal law by protecting predators. 4 cents as millions of Americans are losing health care. 4 cents as millions of Americans can't afford the cost of health care. 4 cents as rural hospitals will be closed because of the big, beautiful bill. 4 cents Medicaid, Medicare programs being cut across the board. 4 cents environmental regulations from the EPA so that polluters can pollute. Cancerous Roundup being allowed to spray everywhere. 4 cents. 4 cents. That's what you got. Are you happy? 4 cents. You want to debate the numbers? Okay. How would you debate it? How would you debate that? That's right, Reeb. A gallon of eggs are down too. You can't debate the numbers, right? So we were at a high. I was trying to think about this. So 2022 was the spike. So we saw, according to EIA, in June of 2022, gas prices went to $5.32 a gallon. Now we know what happened, right? We know about the OPEC Plus deal. We know that we saw prices go down as soon as that expired. We saw when it expired, prices went back up, et cetera, et cetera. So since that time, gas prices have been on the decline, which we know. Again, $3.14 at the end of December 2024. End of February of this year, $3.04. So 10 cents. 10 cents. Okay. I mean, was that really worth it? Was that really worth it? All right, let's get back to some of the lies. His claim about prescription drug prices being lowest in the world. There's absolutely no evidence anywhere. I have no fucking idea what he's even talking about, except he did at one point say 500, 600, 700%. U.S. drug prices remain among the highest globally. Limited reductions for select drugs do not equate to widespread lowest in the world pricing. He made a claim that said prescription drug prices being the lowest in the world. Favored nation status? Okay, whatever. A proposal to give subsidies directly to the people rather than insurers. Now, I've heard a lot of people talking about this. You see what I mean? I'm talking about. Look at these people. See, you want to be remembered like this, friend? Do you want to be remembered like this? We believe survivors. What if they lied about the event to make them a survivor? What about, is that how you want to be remembered? We'll talk about that in a minute. This healthcare thing, right? Can we, let's sort of pull back a minute on this, pull back for a second. What they've talked about, and by the way, there's no concrete evidence of anything being anywhere close to a policy position. He wants to, instead of giving subsidies to the insurance companies, he wants to give the subsidies at a much smaller scale to the American taxpayer to do what with? Buy health insurance from the health insurance companies. How the fuck does that work? So anyway, zero, this is Immigration and Border Security now. Zero illegal aliens admitted in the past 9 months. That is absolutely false. His own DHS says border crossings have declined significantly, but there is no credible data showing zero entries. Claims about many detainees being murderers or violent criminals, that is false as well. Data shows that the overwhelming majority of immigration detainees have no criminal convictions. Again, this goes back to how we started the show today. This is the rhetoric. This is what his base wants to hear. They want to be told their gas prices are down, even though they can go to the pump. They want to be told that there's zero illegal aliens being admitted to the country, even though there's no evidence to support that. They want to be told that you're going to get money to go buy your own health insurance. What they don't tell you is where the fuck you're going to buy it from. The same people that are ripping you off now. Again, I want to tell you that all these things, and none of it is true. They're all fucking lies. All of it. Not my opinion, friends. Not my opinion. And I know there's a lot of MAGA dudes in here looking to be in the throuple. Listen, if you want to join the throuple, it's a pretty exclusive club. Here's a tip, okay? Here's a tip. You got to start believing the truth and not what you're being told. So when I scold you and send you to the corner when you're misbehaving in the throuple, I'm going to put you in front of a screen. I'm going to give you data to look up. You're going to research it, and you're going to be like, holy fuck. And then I'm going to kick your ass to the fucking curb. That's my goal, to kick you to the curb. Let's see, somebody requested. Oops, sorry. Good morning. How are you today?
Dude, I was doing great until you muted me from your echo chamber there. What in the world's going on there?
Oh, do you believe survivors?
No, I don't believe all survivors, as I pointed out.
Get the fuck out of here. Thanks for proving my point. You see how easy that is? Pretty simple. Bye. No, you're not coming back. You're a grape apologist. Get the fuck out of here. We don't support you. You're not. By the way, you're not invited to the throuple. No, bro, you're not coming up. You might as well just stop requesting, because it's not going to happen. All right. You can stop requesting, because I'm not going to bring you up. So maybe you like to be spanked. That's fine. I don't judge your kink, but you're not coming in here. Okay. Thank you. The murder rate saw the largest decline in recorded history. That is partially true. It's been on the way down, though. Independent estimates suggest the homicide rate may be at historic lows, but final FBI data are not complete. That's something we should all celebrate. It's been a trend line. I'll give the president credit for that. I mean, again, you want to be in office. Okay, if you take credit for things that are happening that are positive while you're in office, then okay. All right, that's fine. Crime in D.C. at all-time lows, highly exaggerated. Violent crime has dropped year over year, but not to all-time historical lows as claimed. Bro, you're not coming in. You can just leave. It's not going to happen. It's like you're a little kid. Can I have some more Jell-O? No, you can't. So get the fuck out. We talked a lot about this yesterday. Iran's nuclear program obliterated. Remember, I took you guys through the entire chain, the entire timeline of all the claims that were made. We know that they lied about the obliteration, the elimination, the eradication, whatever fucking word you want to use. We know that that's not true, because why? I'll answer that question in a second. Good question, though. Why would they be now saying that we need to use these drone strikes and whatever else against the Iranian nuclear program? Well, you either lied back in June during Operation Midnight Hammer, or you're lying now. But either way, you're lying. So analysts and international inspectors say Iran's nuclear capabilities were damaged, but not obliterated. Okay. Quote, Iran hasn't said it won't pursue nuclear weapons. That, too, is absolutely false. Iran has repeatedly stated it does not have and does not intend to pursue nuclear weapons. I'm not saying we should sit here and believe Iran. I'm not saying that, but I don't think they really have any interest in investing in something like this. That's what the West has been telling people. Israel, the Israeli government, has been telling people that for a very long time to justify some of their war crimes. Let's be real. Let's call it what it is. Elections and voting. I almost said erections. Hey now. What's on my mind? Sorry. Elections and voting. Cheating is rampant in our elections. That is absolutely fucking false. There's a study that's been done by the Heritage Foundation going back decades. and the percentage is like 0.00004%. And every single time we find examples of election fraud, it's usually Republicans. No one wants to talk about Elon Musk's PAC illegally mailing out absentee ballots pre-filled. Nobody wants to talk about that. Hang on a second. Nobody wants to talk about that. So the quote was, cheating is rampant in our elections. Non-citizen or large-scale voter fraud is extremely rare and not supported by data. It basically doesn't exist. Investments in economic claims secured $18 trillion in global commitments. There is no evidence of this at all. Administration numbers vary, and the $18 trillion figure has not been clearly substantiated with verifiable data. So, okay. Here's a few more, right? Just a little bit more, a little more in depth. This is from the transcript, okay? I inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, etc. Fact check notes that real GDP growth was positive and inflation was 3% when he took office, not at record levels. Again, this is the manipulation. We're seeing it in real time. This is why we tell people that they're in a cult. Listen, I hate to break it to you, but you're in a cult. You really are. Because the president keeps telling you these things, and we can just look at the information. You're going to be like, nuh-uh. Gas prices are not $2.36 a gallon. Yes, they are. No, they're not. Yeah, they are. Well, why do you think they are? Because president told me. Okay, cool. Inflation is plummeting, was the quote. PolitiFact says that inflation has eased, but plummeting overstates it for sure. In January 2026, it was 2.4% year over year and already had fallen sharply from the 2022 peak. More lies. Roaring economy like never before. The roaring economy is roaring like never before. Fact check says real GDP growth of 2.2% and unemployment slightly higher, 4.3%. So GDP underperforming year over year and unemployment higher. How the fuck is that roaring? How is that roaring? Okay, that's fine. Nothing to see here though. We'll just believe all the lies.
Hey.
Good morning. East meets West. How are you?
Good. You make me laugh sometimes. Some of the things you do when you're, playing both parts. It reminds me of
it's all the voices in my head. I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's okay. I got the same thing. But it reminds me of working with children with behavioral issues, and that's called oppositional defiance, right? I mean, just like no matter you say go, they say stop. You say eat, they say no. You say blue, they say red. There is an actual diagnosis for this in childhood development. But when you're talking about the MAGA crowd, the cult, the groupies of the orange man, to me, it's really sheer laziness. It's pure laziness. They have no ability whatsoever to even question one thing. I mean, I could understand where you could stand on whatever issue you're standing on. But when it's been 2 issues and then 4 issues and then 6 issues, and you're constantly being told that there's other information and you refuse to even investigate it, that's just sheer laziness. It's easier to think that what you're being told is correct because you have so much hate in your heart, right? Because all these behaviors are hateful. They're all hurting people. These are not things where we just disagree about the way we're going to get a job done or how we're going to address a problem. These are behaviors that are literally intended to injure other people in some way, either financially, either health-wise, or their actual physical safety. And it's mind-boggling.
It is, but that is cult behavior, though. You can't question the cult, and that's just how it works. But thank you, friend, for jumping in today. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Okay.
Take it easy. Keep making me laugh.
All right, you too. Thank you. I will. I appreciate you. See you later. I appreciate that. She's right. I mean, we've seen this for a long time. It's like paying no attention to what's happening. It's like the Wizard of Oz scene. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Courage. There's only one way out of this, and people have to make the break themselves, which again, I come around to this simple truth. Going to be a broken record. You got to get involved. You got to get involved. We saw what was happening. We saw the divisive president last night intentionally trying to divide people because he knows he's in fucking trouble. His base is leaving him, his voting base, right? Of course, you're going to get the sycophants cults in Congress are going to stand up because they don't want to be kicked out of the club. That's for sure. Right? That's for sure. But then it comes down to his voters. You know, we're seeing record turnouts, or I shouldn't say record, but really high turnouts in Texas, you know, breaking records from previous midterms and off-cycle elections. Democrats outpacing Republicans like 4-1, something to that effect. So these are all good signs. Remember, Texas is not a voter registration issue. It's a voter suppression issue. Keep that in mind. Texas is going to be, we're going to be talking about Texas a lot over the next couple of weeks leading up to the primary in March. James Tellerico has already come out and said that if he is not the nominee, he and his campaign will absolutely get behind Jasmine Crockett. I'm hoping that she does the same. I've not seen that message from her yet. That's kind of what we want to see happen. So we'll see. Anyway, back to the fact checking. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted. That's from the transcript. That's the quote. False. It's just false. PolitiFact notes border encounters have dropped a lot, but not to 0. CBP had 10,000 southern border encounters in January alone. So again, it's just a lie. It's not even a stretch of the truth. It's just a lie. Fentanyl down 56%. Not verifiable. Fact check says the total F drug flow is unknowable. Seizure data can't measure the true flow. We certainly know that the F drug does not come in through the southern border. It's smuggled in by American citizens, and it doesn't come from Mexico. So again, more fucking lies. Schmurder rate saw its single largest decline, lowest number in 125 years. Partly supported, partly uncertain. Fact check, violent crime, according to factcheck.org, violent crime fell again in 2025, but Trump overstates the turnaround narrative. Final FBI national data isn't out yet. PolitiFact largely declines, largest decline. The decline is significant, but lowest in 125 years. No one can measure that. We don't have the ability to measure that kind of data. It's not reported. Gasoline, again, now below $2.30 in most states, saw $1.85 in Iowa. Again, national average, according to EIA, $3.04. Just because a state or a Costco, does Piggly Wiggly have gas stations? I don't even know. But again, you walk up to the pump, you know, listen, I don't care that says $3.04 a gallon. Trump told me he's $1.85. There you go. America. It's kind of what it feels like. We're here, right? I don't know what else to tell you. 389 SoCal. Hey, Julie, how are you today?
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
So I had been scrolling around this morning, and I came across a creator that said that he was mad at the Democrats that boycotted the State of the Union because he thought that we should be demanding that they stand up for us in that chamber and kind of boo them the way Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert did. And I kind of agree with that, and I wanted to know what you were thinking.
I mean, it's all performative. I would rather see them take action elsewhere. Yeah. I mean, it's all performative. Either way, like I really don't care. I want to see what they do now.
Yeah, I think it's the petty in me that just wants to boo him in person, and I want them to boo him in person.
Sure, they did.
But they don't.
There was a lot. Well, there was a lot of heckling. There was a lot of heckling. Right, there was a lot. Al Green got kicked out. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Sure, but would you rather them, if you have a choice, if you would rather have them sit in the chamber and heckle, or would you rather have them go back to their districts, create a campaign message where they are using his own speech against him, and then that be their focus?
I mean, I feel like they can do both. They don't work 365.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, again, I just think it's all performative. I would just rather see action.
Yeah.
And I think that, and there were a lot of people.
Me too.
I mean, a lot of people didn't show up. You can see there was a lot of empty seats. There was a lot of screaming. Ilhan Omar was shouting the entire time. There was a whole bunch of others that were certainly screaming, not standing up for things that the president expected them to stand up for. So that was okay. I think I'm comfortable with what they did. But I hear you.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate you.
Thanks. You too.
Have a good day. All right. Bye. Yeah, it's fair criticism. Sure. I mean, I just think these things have become so performative, right? When Biden was, when Marjorie Taylor Greene and her pelt coat and others were screaming at Biden, it's performative, right? It's just, you call people out. The president's own words were the heckle. Can you self-heckle? Yeah, he self-heckled. Because when you just lie, what is there to do? You don't want to fuck shit up, right? You just fucking lie. Okay, 53 all-time record highs since the election. Talk about the stock market. This is from the transcript. Stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election. Factcheck.org says he touted gains, but they were smaller than each of the last 2 years under Biden, per the review, from a percentage perspective. Stock market should always go up, but we're talking about percentage growth. Stock market has set a 53-time all-time record since the election? No. Secured commitments of more than $18 trillion. There's no evidence. We talked about that one. More Americans are working today than at any time. It's technically true, but it's misleading because record employment is expected with population growth. Job growth slowed, though, and unemployment population ratio slipped. So cutting jobs. I mean, there's more people here, so arguably there's going to be more people working. So sure, part of that is true. See how easy it is, MAGA, to be objective? Part of that is true, okay? And we also lost jobs at record rates, and the unemployment rate is up. This is an interesting one. We lifted 2.4 million Americans off of food stamps. And there was a massive amount of cheering. Well, here's the problem with that. Fact Check published their summary, which emphasized other economic claims more heavily, not seeing their full snap specific evidentiary breakdown in the visible sections that was pulled. But what we do know is that more people were kicked off of, not that they voluntarily left, because of cuts made to in the one big, beautiful piece of shit bill. Right? So we know that people were not lifted off, they were kicked off. And our friend Crow has given us this breakdown about how there needs to be an assessment constantly. So you're always reviewing someone's claim. You're always reviewing someone's case and their information. And people were cheering that 2.4 million people were kicked off of food stamps. I told you guys the story that I was in this live a couple weeks back and someone said that food isn't a right. And I've asked that question repeatedly since. How is it that anybody could answer that question other than yes? Oh, I'm sorry. It's not laid out in the Constitution. Yeah, it is. General welfare. What do you think that fucking means? It's not some video game character. I am general welfare. No, it's actually the truth. Prosperity, health, security. You can't have these things if you're starving. So when people were celebrating 2.4, you're going to hear it today. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear people making that claim today. Hey, we lifted 2.4 million people off of food stamps. No, you kicked 2.4 million people off of food stamps. Let's be real. I'll always protect Medicaid. The OBBA cut Medicaid spending by $990 billion, and the CBO estimates 7.5 fewer insured by 2024. I'm sorry, 7.5 million people to be uninsured by 2034 from Medicaid-related changes. How is that protecting Medicaid? Anybody want to explain that? Prescription drugs from highest to the lowest. In the statement is, Trump said the drug prices went to the lowest. Factcheck.org said that some have reduced, but nowhere close to the lowest in the world. In fact, we are still have some of the highest drug prices in the world. That's just a flat out lie, MAGA. Just a flat out lie. There's not even any truth to it. I'm going to do this. Oh, shit, I missed it. There's no truth to it. None whatsoever. None. Tariffs replace income tax paid by foreign countries. Fact check cites multiple analysis arguing that tariffs can't plausibly replace income tax and that most tariff burden falls on U.S. firms and consumers, not foreigners. Now, again, now that the Supreme Court has ruled that IEEPA was unconstitutional, against the law, and then refunds should be expected for some, how will that work? If foreign countries paid the tariffs, MAGA, I'll say this really slowly, okay? In my soft voice, MAGA. If foreign countries paid the tariffs, then why are we talking about giving refunds to American consumers and American businesses? Oh, wait. Anybody want to answer? I'll tell you, because foreign countries and companies don't pay the tariff. Bum, bum, bum. Do I have a sound for that? Maybe? Sorry, don't know what to tell you. I know, right? Say it ain't so. Somebody here just requested. I'm not sure where it went. Yolanda, if you want to request again, it might have been an accident. I'm not sure. All right. And again, obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program. We wiped it out. You know the story there. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. Just did not happen. It couldn't have happened. Well, again, it was a lie the first time, or it was a lie this time. So which is it? Anyway, that's what we witnessed last night. It was the longest in modern history, nearly an hour and 28 minutes. Typically, they are between 60 and 75 minutes. Barack Obama averaged 70 minutes. Joe Biden averaged an hour, and then Trump has now averaged an hour and 20 minutes. Excessive length. The fact checkers gave him a C-. Accuracy. Oh boy. Multiple false or unsupported claims. This is a fact checkers gave him a score based on these categories. Factcheck.org did this. Accuracy based on independent fact checks. Outlets found multiple false or unsupported claims. 0 illegal aliens, gas prices below $2.30 nationwide, several misleading claims out of context, economic inheritance framing, tariff impact, drug pricing, some partially accurate claims, crime decline, inflation down from peak. Compared to history, modern presidents often stretch the framing. However, the volume of clearly false numerical claims in this address was higher than any typical so too. Historically, fact checkers have flagged exaggerations in speeches by George W. Bush, Iraq WMD framing, Barack Obama, healthcare savings projections, and then Joe Biden, job creation framing. They give Donald Trump for this speech a D-. That's generous. Policy, substance, and specificity. The strengths: clear ideological through line, immigration enforcement, tariffs, and nationalism. That's the message. That's the rhetoric. From a policy, substance, and specificity category, they give him a C-. Rhetorical impact. Again, the grade on rhetoric for base mobilization, that's a fucking A+. That is off the fucking charts. Give them the red meat that they crave. Talk about illegals, talk about immigration, talk about transgender for everyone, all this kind of shit. That's a fucking A+. Hit it out of the park. But from a national unity perspective, the goal of the president is to try to bring people together. That's an F. So he was speaking to his base. He wasn't speaking to swing voters. He wasn't speaking to anybody to try to make the tent bigger. He was talking to his base, and he expects all 77 million or whatever the fucking number is to rally for him again. Don't forget that 77 million also included some independents, right? They are leaving him in droves. There's like a 50-point gap favorability and unfavorability for independents right now with him. He is so fucking upside down. So again, rhetoric off the charts, A+, which is usually the case. He scores very high from a rhetoric perspective. You guys know what I mean by rhetoric, right? Just the same old talking points. You see it when he's caught. He goes back to murderers and rapists, radical left lunatics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Transgender for everyone, crime this, crime that, illegals this, illegals that. He always scores very high on that. So he got, bad scores across the board. So I think we can officially say that to me last night, what's the date? Maybe Tuesday, February the 24th, 2026 was the day that MAGA died. And the reason I say that is because normally, and I think I talked about this at the beginning of the show. Normally, I'm jacked up on cold medicine this morning, so my apologies. But anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, sorry. You usually try to set the agenda when you send your down ballot reps back to their districts. They've got nothing to run on. They've got literally nothing. There is nothing for them to run on. Nothing. Instead, they have to go back to their districts and defend why we are at day 68 of the Trump files not being released. And we're going to get into that in just a moment because there's some great reporting by NPR. And there's some blockbuster shit. And I've got a really interesting thread that I found that I think is wild. But they've got nothing to run on, nothing, which is partly why they continue to try to steal your vote, try to suppress your vote, try to make it impossible for you to vote. The SAVE Act has got nothing to do with election integrity. Nothing. They are trying to suppress women in particular. That's their goal. So I say this again, Queens, they are afraid of you. They are intimidated by you. Absolutely fucking intimidated by you. Hey, Kristen, thank you. They're intimidated by you. They do not want you to participate. They want you home barefoot pregnant. They want you to be fucking incubators. They don't want your voice. They don't want your intention. They certainly don't want you to run for office. They certainly don't want that. So what are you going to do with that? White women in particular. So if they really are afraid of you, then give them a reason to be afraid. Yeah, exactly. They don't want your brains. Yeah, bite back. Exactly. That's what they're telling you every single day. Every fucking day. So I love John Leguizamo. Love the guy. And thank you, Francis, for posting this in the mod chat. This is his Project 2028. Now, it sounds a lot like me, but I'm going to give him credit. This is what John Leguizamo wants for Project 2028. Overturn Citizens United. Anybody opposed? I doubt it. Codify women's rights to choose. Term limits for SCOTUS. Get rid of the Electoral College. Outlaw gerrymandering nationwide. Return the fairness doctrine in media. Universal health care for all. Ban stock trading while in Congress. Cap Congress's salary at 1.5 times the median income of their district. That one I fucking love. So your salaries can vary depending on which district you represent, but cap Congress salary at 1.5 times the median income of their district. Love that. Tax billionaires out of existence. Tax unrealized capital gains used as loan collateral. Hello, Elon. Tax the mega churches and then raise federal minimum wage to $20 an hour. Anybody have an issue with any of those? Even the right. How the fuck could you have any issues with any of that? I love that shit. So the lesson for all of us is, right? These are the kinds of things that we want our candidates to talking about. So if you are in support of a progressive candidate, for example, right? Isn't it weird that these things are considered progressive? Like, it's strange. Anyway, when you are campaigning or primarying or volunteering or door knocking or whatever that might be for, for your candidate, these are the things you want them talking about. I've said this to you guys before. I don't want slices of the pie. I want the whole fucking pie. I want the whole orchard, okay? And If the time comes and the candidate that I want to win does not represent me on the general election ballot, then I will vote for the candidate proudly, honorably, and assertively, the one that will reduce harm the most. Period. So overturn citizens, codify women's rights to choose, term limits for the Supreme Court, get rid of the Electoral College, outlaw gerrymandering. I want to talk about that one a little bit. So redistricting, not to be confused with gerrymandering, redistricting happens because of population shifts within states. What I want to see is an independent commission where they do that for every state. So states can no longer do it themselves. It's got to be somebody, an outside, a third party that does it. So I would take that one step in a different direction. I would say, yes, you outlaw gerrymandering, but redistricting is something we have to continue to do as long as it's a third party that does it and not the state legislature. That goes on, that's for both sides. Return the fairness doctrine in media. We talk about that many, many times. You guys know how I feel about that. Universal health care, the Medicare for all model, which is what I prefer. And we should be talking about that in terms of that, the Medicare for all model. I don't care how it's framed. I think there's a messaging opportunity there for Democrats so they can push away from the stigma of socialized medicine, because that's a dirty word, apparently. Ban stock trading. Yeah, again, the capping the congressional salaries, taxing billionaires out of existence, taxing unrealized gains, to be used as collateral, tax mega churches, and then raise federal minimum wage to $20 an hour. Does anybody have any issue with any of those things? I don't. I don't at all. Okay. Shifty Lincoln. Good morning. This is in YouTube. Thank you, YouTubers. By the way, if you guys have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, there's 2,000 people in here right now. I'm not sure if everybody is subscribed, but I would really appreciate that if you would head over to Twitch and to YouTube to subscribe. Shifty Lincoln, thank you for your super chat. Shifty Lincoln says, good morning, Steve. Don't change a thing. I unsubscribed from a left-wing creator with over 6 million subscribers. You're better. Hopium sells, but is dangerous for democracy. Keep speaking the raw truth. Love you, bud. Thank you, Shifty Lincoln. Hearts in the chat for Shifty Lincoln. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Jess, I know, the black shirt. It's always a question. You wear the black shirt because it could look like a floating head. Wow. Anyway, isn't that a great list? So these are the things you'd be advocating for now, right? Really, these are the things we want. We want these conversations as part of our public discord. I want to hear people, and I would add to John's list, make DC a state, right? Eliminate the filibuster. I don't hear enough people on the left talking about getting rid of the filibuster permanently. I would like to see that. I'll take my chances with the majority, because if someone is in power, then with majority, you should have privilege. I just don't like the fact that the minority wing, the minority. I understand if your party's not in power, I get it, but I'd rather take my chances with the majority. Because think of it this way: if you have the ability to win the majority and the filibuster's gone in the Senate, that changes everything. That creates the ability to change how many Supreme Court justices, for example. On that topic, I have some sound from Bitch Boy. In case you don't know who Bitch Boy is, that's Mike Johnson. So this is Mike Johnson. This is my little bitch. This is what he's talking. I want you to hear this. If this does not give you motivation to vote, especially leftists, again, not looking for your preferred candidate, please don't. Your quest for perfection is going to mean you're going to miss the good or the harm reduction, right? So this is what Bitch Boy had to say.
All 4 years, not just 2, to fix the mess. And that's what we need. If we lost the midterms, heaven forbid, if we lost the majority in the House, it would be the end of the Trump presidency in a real effect. So
one more time.
He needs all 4 years, not just 2, to fix the mess. And that's what we need. If we lost the midterms, heaven forbid, if we lost the majority in the House, it would be the end of the Trump presidency in a real effect. So
if we lost the midterms, it would be the end of the Trump presidency in real effect. You know what, Mike? That is the smartest thing that I've ever heard you say. Right, Jess, don't tempt me with a good time. It's true. This is what's at stake. I mean, the way that the polling and the results of previous elections, or at least this year, have where they've gone, it's heading in that direction. I know RTP did a great breakdown the other day of comparing polling and possibility of flipping the Senate, and I think that's a real strong possibility, right? 5150 5149 is kind of where it's sort of leaning. Think about swing states, right? And part of my Do Something Tour road trip, by the way, if you want to donate to the Do Something Tour, Factsstillmatter at Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, part of my road trip will take me to swing states. I'm going to use Maine as kind of a test drive, so to speak, because there's a lot of unregistered voters, and Maine is a swing state. Maine is one of those states that could flip the Senate map. This is going to be one of those questions for a lot of voters, okay? We know of some questionable decisions that Graham Plattner made in his younger days, right? We know that. So this is the question I have for people. I think I said this yesterday. I talk about this a lot. I want more people to be involved in politics, right? I don't want rich people to have to just run for office. And if we want humans, being human with all of our flaws, all of our, perhaps, incidences from our past, if we can't forgive ourselves, or I should say, if we can forgive ourselves, can't we forgive others? Now, obviously, it depends on what it is, right? Of course, it depends on what it is. But you're going to be faced with a lot of these questions. You're going to be looking at candidates and going to be like, yeah, I mean, is AIPAC money going to be a deal breaker? I get it. These are questions that you should think about, right? These are questions that you need to be processing, because I want more people involved. I want as many people. I'll take my chances. If I'm out on the road and I'm talking to 10,000 people and 7,500 end up voting Republican, I'll take that, because I want people to vote. I want people to be involved, because I know we have got data. We've got decades of data that tell us the more people that vote, participate, the more likely Democratic candidates are going to win. So this is a harm reduction election, right? This is it. So if you are going to decide not to participate because a candidate takes AIPAC money, then I would ask you to consider the other side of that. What happens if that person loses and we have more Yahtzees in our government? Because that's what we have now. Okay, there's no sugarcoating it. I would rather take my chances and pass legislation that says you can no longer donate to campaigns, no more corporate donations. Citizens United goes bye-bye. That's how you address it. Okay? That's how you address it. You got to pass legislation. To do that, you need majorities. You want progressive policies and progressive politics for the next generation, ultimately marching towards the matriarchy, right? We've got to get to that point. So that's your mission, if you choose to accept it. Okay, let me go back here. I think I covered that. All right. So a few other things. This is, again, some sort of follow up to last night. Obviously, we know that there was no acknowledgement.
I'm just going to hold up.
No acknowledgement to the survivors that were there. It shouldn't surprise anybody that didn't happen. It was disappointing. It was disturbing, but it was fully expected. There's no possible way that he was ever going to acknowledge the survivors being in the room. That's part of the cover-up. So we talked about yesterday, as far as the cult behavior goes. We talked yesterday about the story about Tony Gonzalez. He's a Republican from Texas who's now he's created a bit of a mess because his former affair partner took her own life. She set herself on fire. And he's been caught because there are numerous text messages and exchanges between him and her. He's never been, he's never denied any of it, to be honest. So he was caught walking through the Capitol yesterday on his way to the State of the Union. And he's being asked questions, and these are some interesting answers, and I'll unpack it for you in just a second.
No.
Not. Are those text messages correct? Are they accurate?
I am not going to resign. I work every day. I work every day for the people of Texas.
But are those text messages? Are they accurate? Are those real text messages?
I am not going to resign. I'm not going to resign. I work every day for the people of Texas.
Did you carry it?
And there will be an opportunity for all the details and facts to come out. What you've seen is not all the facts.
Did you have an extramarital affair with the staff?
What you've seen is not all the facts, and there'll be an ample time for all of that to come out.
What are the facts? Can you address it right now? Your constituents want to know.
My constituents are not here in D.C. My constituents are back home in Texas.
What do you make of some of your colleagues?
That's That's an
What do you plan to tell the speaker?
Answer. That's an interesting answer. My constituents aren't here. They're back in Texas. Dude, do you think people don't have television or phones? Like, what? This is what happens when you desensitize, right? When you just condition people to think that this level of corruption and these despicable, horrible crimes against children, girls and boys, is just nothing to see here. Mike Johnson does not want this guy to resign because Mike's going to lose his majority. He might even lose his majority before we get to the midterms, because you more and more people talking about some Republicans, stepping away and resigning before the term's up. You won't resign. You tell your constituents that you're working for them. They're not in DC. We understand that. They're in Texas. We understand that too, but they're watching, right? They're watching you. And don't you think that that's important? Right? Don't you think it's important to tell them that you are addressing this? You didn't answer a question. Every single time these things have come up, they want to blame somebody else. Oh, it's fake news. The full story will come out. Okay, then what's the story? There's been rumors about, I saw that. There's been rumors about Bobo stepping down. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, so that's a story that we need to follow.
Statements from people.
This is, I want to get into this whole Peter Thiel thing. And then you guys, I've got a couple of weird stories that I found connected to the E-Files release. Some weird ones, just as I went down a rabbit hole. And we're going to talk about the breaking news that the NPR has reported about how the obvious, the fix is in. There's an obvious cover-up of documents referencing allegations, credible allegations against the president. But I don't want to go too far without reminding people about the situation in Florida. Oh, before I do that, here's another example of people being held accountable, okay? So there's reporting, and I've seen some stories that are sort of navigating through this. Norwegian Prime Minister Thorbjorn Jagland is a name that was mentioned in the Epstein files. Well, he was reportedly hospitalized last week following a self-unaliving attempt, days after he was charged with gross corruption linked to his relationship with late convicted offender J.E., according to a media report Tuesday. The news was first broken by iNiter, which cited a rock-solid source confirming that Jagland's condition remains serious. The specific medical facility treating the 75-year-old statesman has not been disclosed. So, again, Prince Andrew, first time a royal's been arrested in 400 years. Peter Mandelson, Prime Minister Thorbjorn Jagland, other corrupt individuals removing titles, removing access. You see law firms firing people. You see people stepping down. Not here, though. Not here. Nope. Not here. All right, I'm going to set up this story because I've got some reporting that I'll follow up on. But what they're going to be discussing here, this was reported on MS Now. What they're discussing is how information that was in the E-Files release, the Trump files release, has been, I don't know, just disappeared. So I'll play that sound for you guys and I'll be right back. Hold on.
Reporting, walk us through it. Well, Anna, one of the things I can tell you is that based on documents that are available in the Epstein files, and we're just going to hold up to you what allowed us to get to this reporting. This is an index of witness statements from people who were not expected to testify at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, but whose statements were nonetheless produced to her defense counsel in the run-up to her 2021 trial. We also have a smaller one with respect to those who were expected to testify. And based on those indices, as well as documents available in the file, MS Now can report that there is at least one witness for whom 3 interviews with the FBI in rapid succession in 2019 are missing. You might say, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, the big deal about that is that we can also confirm that that woman is the same person who in a 2025 FBI presentation is identified to have accused Donald Trump of a sexual assault when she was between 13 and 15 years old.
Okay. So What she's referring to in that reporting is great journalism that NPR has been working on for a while. So here's the headline. Everybody keep tapping, please. Justice Department withheld and removed some files related to JE. This came out yesterday morning. The Justice Department has withheld, well, first of all, we know it's day 68 of the Department of Justice under the Trump administration, breaking federal law. Okay? Day 68. The Justice Department has withheld some Jeffrey Trump files related to allegations that the president abused a minor. Trigger warnings in general, I try to do these. I'll try to avoid as much graphic representation as possible. I'll do my best. But trigger warning in general. The Justice Department has withheld some Epstein files related to allegations that the president sexually abused a minor. An NPR investigation finds. It also removed some documents from the public database where accusations against JE also mentioned Trump. Some files have not been made public despite a law mandating their release. These include what appear to be more than 50 pages of FBI interviews, as well as notes from conversations with a woman who accused Trump of abuse decades ago. She was between the ages of 13 and 15. NPR reviewed multiple sets of unique serial numbers appearing before and after the pages in question, stamped onto documents in the e-files database, FBI case records, emails, and discovery document logs, Sorry, my apologies. NPR reviewed multiple sets of unique serial numbers appearing before and after the pages in question, stamped onto documents in the e-files database, FBI case records, emails, and discovery document logs in the latest tranche of documents published at the end of January. NPR's investigation found dozens of pages that appear to be cataloged by the Justice Department but not shared publicly. The JD, Justice Department, declined to answer NPR's questions on the record about these specific files, what's in them, and why they are not published. After publication, the JD reached out to NPR, taking issue with how its responses to questions were framed. Department spokesperson Natalie Baldessari reiterated DOJ's stance that any documents not published are privileged, are duplicates, or relate to an ongoing federal investigation. First of all, those are all fucking lies because there's no information pertaining to any federal investigation. That would be one caveat of not releasing something. Nothing is considered privileged because there has to be an explanation as to why something wasn't redacted, and duplicates are irrelevant. Whether they're a duplicate or not, your job is to publish the information. So again, day 68 of the federal government under the Trump administration violating the law. Following NPR's reporting, the House Oversight Committee's ranking member, Robert Garcia, released a statement about the missing files. Quote, yesterday, I reviewed unredacted evidence. So this would have been the day before yesterday, so Monday. Yesterday, I reviewed unredacted evidence logs at the DOJ. Oversight Democrats can confirm that the DOJ appears to have illegally withheld FBI interviews with this survivor who accused President Trump of heinous crimes. End quote. Keep in mind, the President of the United States has a history of suing people for what he claims to be slander, defamation, whatever that might be. I've not heard of any lawsuits. Have you guys? Has anybody heard of any lawsuits going after some of the people who made these statements? Anybody? Okay, didn't think so. Democrats on the Oversight Committee have already been investigating this allegation against the president and will now open a parallel investigation into the DOJ's decision not to release these particular documents. In other words, documents were there, okay? This is all part of the PSYOP, right? We're going to flood the fucking zone. We're going to flood the fucking zone with as much information, and then we're going to quietly pull things back. Well, because of fucking journalism, right? Because of amazing journalism and because of people who are committed to this, because of diligence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is what happens. Documents that were there that had information about this witness testimony, and then when people started digging, all of a sudden that information was gone. So people are talking about credible evidence against the president. Well, this would be credible. And why is it gone? Okay. Other files scrubbed from public view pertain to a separate woman who was a key witness for the prosecution in the criminal trial of Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, who was serving a 20-year prison sentence for trafficking. Maxwell is seeking clemency from Trump. We talked about that the other day, right? Another element of the testimony that's been missing. If it was credible enough to convict Ghislaine Maxwell, then it would be credible enough to make allegations and or investigate anybody else, correct? I have a video on my page of somebody that we spoke to on Free Speech Friday last week, and I asked that question. I said, okay, hold on a second. If you're looking for credible evidence and the information that was used to convict Ghislaine Maxwell was credible, then why would it not be considered credible to use in allegations against the president? His person's response was, well, it was credible enough to convict Maxwell, but it's a lie when it comes to Trump. I shit you not. You can look at the video. It's on my page. I shit you not. So this is what we're talking about, right? This is the cult. This is what happens when you've desensitized everyone, especially those that are in the cult, because they're unwilling to accept the fact that their guy is without question mentioned in these files more than anyone else, and he's got blood on his hands, and they just won't see it. Some of those documents were briefly some of these documents were briefly taken down and put back online last week, while others remain hidden, according to NPR's comparison of the initial data set from January 30th with the document metadata of those files currently on the JD's website. See, this is why journalism is important, right? So what NPR did, they got the full blast. They went through it, and they went back and they compared, and then the data set that they got the first time had information about this stuff, right? Had information about these files, and then all of a sudden the files are gone? Okay, sure. Okay. NPR does not name victims of SA. When asked for comment about the missing pages and the accusations against the president, a White House spokeswoman told NPR that Trump, quote, has done more for Epstein's victims than anyone before him. Let's think about that for a second. No, that's just not true. Quote, just as President Trump has said, he's been totally exonerated of anything related to Epstein. How the fuck does that happen? Speaking of that term, exonerated, during that same live on Friday, Free Speech Friday, another person, I asked that question, what does exonerated mean? And they said, well, the DOJ can exonerate you. How would that happen? And I gave numerous scenarios. Somebody stole a truck. How would they be exonerated? And they said that the lawyers. I'm like, how would the lawyers exonerate you? Unwilling to answer. And I said, so why do you feel like he's exonerated? And he said, because the DOJ told me so. And then I asked the follow-up question, which was, okay, so you believe the Department of Justice and what they say, correct? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, so then you believe the Department of Justice under Joe Biden when Jack Smith said that Donald Trump stole documents from Mar-a-Lago and obstructed justice. And of course, his response was, well, that's not the same thing. Okay. So if the claim is that this president has done more for survivors, I don't know how anybody could possibly say that. The analogy that I use when Trump says he's exonerated is like the coyote standing outside the chicken coop. Everything's fine here. Nothing to see. I'm exonerated. Those feathers and the carcasses over there in the corner, nothing to see here. I'm exonerated because I say so. Just as President Trump has said, he's been totally exonerated on anything relating to Jeffrey, White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson told NPR in a statement. Quote, and by releasing thousands of pages of documents, cooperating with the House Oversight Committee's subpoena request, signing the Epstein Files Transparency Act while breaking the law, and calling for more investigations into Epstein's Democrat friends, shocker, President Trump has done more for Epstein survivors than anyone before him. Meanwhile, Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries and Stacey Plaskett have yet to explain why they were soliciting money and meetings from Epstein after he was a convicted sex offender. There's the pivot. The White House has previously pointed to a statement from the Justice Department that says Epstein's files contain untrue and sensationalist claims about the president. If that were true, then why are the documents that actually had credible allegations against him, why are they suddenly missing? All right. In a February the 14th letter to members of Congress, first reported by Politico, Attorney General Bondi and Deputy AG Todd Blanche insist that no records were withheld or redacted on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, including to any government official, public figure, or foreign dignitary. We know that is not true. We know it. You don't need me to convince you. Hang on one second here. Okay, sorry. According to the newly released files, the FBI internally circulated Epstein-related allegations that mentioned Trump in late July and early August of 2025. Remember, there was that whole controversy last summer about how the DOJ had to recruit a whole bunch of agents across the state, across the country, like thousands of agents, to go through the files. There was reporting done by The Atlantic, by Politico, by the New York Times, that Pam Bondi informed the president that we found your name all over these things. Okay? And then, of course, they denied it. Democrat hoax, no birthday letter, blah, fucking blah. We've got all kinds of contradictions to the time frame, and I'm going to go through the time frame for you guys in just a moment. But, all right, so according to newly released files, the FBI internally circulated Epstein-related allegations that mentioned Trump in late July and early August of 2025. The list, collected from the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, included numerous salacious allegations. We all can agree. We can all agree that these are allegations. That's why you need an investigation. Just because the DOJ says, well, these are just allegations, sir, therefore you're exonerated, that does not mean you're exonerated. Yeah, the cover-up is so sloppy. I agree. The cover-up of the cover-up is what they need, and they're doing a shitty fucking job. Agents marked most of those accusations as unverifiable or not credible. Funny, though, the ones that were deemed credible are suddenly missing. But nothing to see here, right? Okay, but one lead was sent to the FBI's Washington office with the purpose of setting up an interview with the accuser. The lead was included in an internal PowerPoint slide deck detailing prominent names in the e-files and the Maxwell investigations last fall. Roger Sollenberg, who did a lot of work on this, he has a Sollenberger, is it? Roger Sollenberger. He's been part of this investigative team. He did a post on Substack with a lot of this information, names that were included with the allegations that, again, credible enough to convict Ghislaine Maxwell, including Jess Staley, including Leon Black, including Les Wexner, including Weinstein, including Glenn Dubin, and including the president. This survivor's testimony was this. This person's name redacted, it should be, stated that Epstein introduced her to Trump, who subsequently forced her head down to his exposed penis, which she subsequently bit. In response, Trump punched her in the head and kicked her out. Date range, 1983 to 1985. The survivor of this case would have been 13 to 15 years old. That's what's been missing. That was initially in the files, and now it's not. Okay. Just want to make sure that, we're all on board with the lengths to which people are going to protect these fucking monsters. Okay. According to the newly released files, the FBI internally circulated Epstein-related allegations that mentioned Trump in late July and early August. The list, collected from the National Threat Operations Center, included salacious allegations. Agents marked most of the accusations as unverifiable or not credible. But one lead was sent to the FBI's Washington office with the purpose of setting up an interview with the accuser. The lead was included in an internal PowerPoint slide deck, from which I just read from you the prominent names piece, in the Epstein and Maxwell investigation last fall. The woman who directly named Trump in her abuse allegation claimed that around 1983, trigger warnings again, when she was around 13, Jeffrey introduced her to Trump, quote, who subsequently forced her head down to his exposed penis, which she subsequently bit. In response, he punched her in the head and kicked her out. Out of more than 3 million pages of files released by the Justice Department in recent months, this specific allegation against Trump appears only in copies of the FBI list of claims and the DOJ slideshow. But, here's the but, A review of FBI case file logs and discovery documents turned over to Maxwell and her attorneys in the criminal case against her point to one place the claim could have come from and how serious investigators took it. The FBI interviewed sorry, hate being sick. Of the more than 3 million pages of files released by the Justice Department in recent months, this specific allegation against Trump appears only in copies of the FBI list of claims in the DOJ slideshow. But a review of FBI case file logs and discovery documents turned over to Maxwell and her attorneys in the criminal case against her point to one place the claim could have come from and how serious investigators took it. This testimony was used to convict her. The FBI interviewed this Trump and Epstein accuser 4 times. That is according to an FBI serial report and a list of non-testifying witnesses material in the Maxwell case that were also released under the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Only the first interview, conducted July 24, 2019, is in the public database. That interview does not mention Trump. Funny. Funny, right? We've got it from the first round of data. The first round of data dump, we find records of these 4 interviews. We find the witness's statement with the allegation. Again, the allegation used in court to convict Ghislaine Maxwell. When they go back and look, the other 3 are gone. The only one left does not mention Trump. Somebody want to explain that? Anybody? MAGA, anybody want to explain it? It's called the Epstein Files Transparency Act. We're told every single day that this president is the most transparent in history. He's guilty. In the court of public opinion, he is guilty. He's not been exonerated. He has not been cleared. Not even fucking close. If you have nothing to hide, then why are you hiding shit? Of 15 documents listed in a log of the Maxwell discovery material for this first accuser, only 7 are in the Epstein Files database. Those missing also include notes that accompany 3 of the interviews. The discrepancy in the file for the Trump accuser was first reported by independent journalist Roger Sollenberger. Props to Roger and independent journalists everywhere. So his investigation led to NPR to do an investigation, led to others to do an investigation. So here we sit. According to NPR's review of 3 different sets of serial numbers stamped out of the files, there appear to be 53 pages of interview documents and notes missing from the public Epstein database. In the first interview document, the woman discussed ways Epstein abused her as a girl, and in identifying him to investigators, showed a cropped photo of the disgraced financier. Her attorney said it was cropped because she was concerned about implicating additional individuals, and specifically any that were well known, due to fear of retaliation. The FBI agents noted it was a widely distributed photograph of Epstein with Trump. Do we just, again, we're just not going to believe survivors? I don't know if there's anything else needed in the investigation than this. This is the obvious fucking cover-up. And what else? Again, this is not opinion. This is what they're reporting on. These files all existed during the initial file dump of the 3 million back at the end of January. And when people went back in to investigate again, all but 1 were gone. The ones that had allegations against the president. I want people to keep this in mind, okay? Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, and others have all seen this information. They know what's in there. They know that there are credible allegations against the president. They know it. They have to know it, which is exactly why they covered it up. They know. They know. They are lying to people. They're lying to not only protect themselves at this point because of perjury, but they are lying to protect predators. A woman whose biographical details and description of Epstein's abuse found in the FBI interview also line up with details from a victim lawsuit. In the December 2019 filing, Jane Doe 4 does not mention Trump, and the woman voluntarily dismissed her claims against Epstein's estate in December of 2021. Katie Johnson, under threat of death. Attorneys for this accuser declined to comment. Elsewhere in the release files, someone in the FBI wrote on July 22nd of 2025, before the list and slide presentation were compiled, that Trump's name was in the larger case files and that, quote, one identified victim claimed abuse by Trump, but ultimately refused to cooperate. Under threat of death. Retaliation. Second accuser says she met Trump at Mar-a-Lago. The other woman whose mention of Trump made the DOJ's presentation appears in Maxwell Discovery files released last month in what's known as the Testifying Witness 3500 material list. In this first interview of 6 with the FBI conducted between September 2019 and September 2021, the second woman detailed how Epstein and Maxwell's abuse began while she was around 13 years old and attending the Interlochen Center for the Arts, and described how, at one point, Epstein took her to Trump's Mar-a-Lago to meet him. She's 13. 13. Interlochen is that camp, I think, on Lake Michigan, right? So then you get the Lake Michigan, you get the ferry boat, you get bodies disappearing. Here's the transcript. Epstein told Trump, quote, "This is a good one, huh?" The interview report reads. In a 2020 lawsuit against Epstein's estate and Maxwell, the second woman added that both men chuckled and she, quote, felt uncomfortable, but at the time was too young to understand why. She's 13. That interview was removed from the DOJ's public files sometime after the initial publication on January the 30th and was republished February the 19th, according to document metadata. The JD, Justice Department, told NPR the only reason any file has been temporarily removed is that it had been flagged by a victim or their counsel for additional review. As long as the survivors' names have been redacted, then it's fair game. And that was the case. Survivor's name was redacted. There is therefore no longer any justification to have that file redacted and or excluded. This cover-up is so fucking big, you guys. It is so fucking big. This is just every single day. You get, again, Prince Andrew arrested. Peter Mendelsohn arrested. Former British or Norwegian Prime Minister attempted to take his own life. Les Wexner lying in front of Congress. Across the fucking board, they're all fucking guilty. They're all guilty. And the person who's being protected the most and is arguably the one who may be the most guilty of them all is the President of the United States. Okay. Multiple FBI interviews with other people refer to the second woman's meeting with Trump while she was a minor and being abused by Epstein. One interview with a fleeting mention of Trump was removed from the public database and subsequently restored last week, while another interview with the woman's mother is still online. After publication, the Justice Department said the file required additional redactions and will be reposted soon. They got caught. They got caught in the cover-up. In that conversation, the mother recalled hearing that, quote, a prince and Donald Trump visited Jeffrey's house, which made her think that if they are there, then how could Epstein be a criminal, according to NPR's copy of the file that was first published. Think about that, right? Why is my daughter going there, and why is Prince Andrew there, and why is Donald Trump there if this guy Epstein's a criminal? It's a really good question, isn't it? The possible omission of files that mention these women's particular allegations against the president come as the JD has warned about other documents it has published in full that include what it calls untrue and sensationalist claims about Trump. Listen, draw your own conclusions, right? You are entitled to do that. All I am asking you to do is be objective. Just look at the evidence. Just look what's here. Now, our defenders, our grape apologists, the people that are defending the president no matter what, are quick to throw everyone under the bus but Trump. Bill Clinton, if he's guilty, throw his ass in fucking jail. Don't care. He's going to testify. He's going to come before Congress. Now, it isn't interesting, though, that members of Congress, the Republican-led oversight committee who's doing the investigation, want it behind doors. Why would they want it behind doors? Why would they not want it to be public? I wonder why. Okay. At the same time, the Justice Department has removed and or re-uploaded thousands of pages in recent weeks to fix improperly redacted victim names. That includes documents related to the allegations from these two women who separately say they were around 13 years old when Epstein first abused them. Their statements, initially released, then disappeared. Robert Glassman, who represents the woman who testified against Maxwell, woman now, obviously girl then, I'm sensitive to that, but I'm referring to her statements now. Robert Glassman, who represents the women who testified against Maxwell, sharply criticized the Justice Department's handling of the files. Quote, "This whole thing is ridiculous. The DOJ was ordered to release information to the public to be transparent about Jeffrey and Ghislaine's criminal enterprise network. Instead, they released the names of courageous victims, survivors, who have fought hard for decades to remain anonymous and out of the limelight. Whether the disclosure were inadvertent or not, they had one job to do, and they didn't do it." A DOJ spokesperson told NPR that the department is working, quote, around the clock. The DOJ is working around the clock? The DOJ is working around the clock. The DOJ is working around the clock. The DOJ is working around the clock. Okay. Just want to make sure. Yeah, I know it's important that you're working around the clock. Got it. Okay. To address concerns from victims and handle additional redactions of personally identifiable information that have been flagged. In quote, in view of the congressional deadline, all reasonable efforts have been made to review and redact personal information pertaining to victims, other private individuals, and protect sensitive materials from disclosure, the statement said. That said, because of the volume of information involved, this website may nevertheless contain information that inadvertently includes non-public, personally identifiable information or other sensitive content to include matters of a sexual nature. I'm not going to say, like, I'm not a big, like, here's the smoking gun, but I mean, come on. Come on. Just be objective. Just approach this, MAGA, just approach this. You can do this in your quiet time, right? Just ask yourself, go read this article, go through the timeline, look at the records history, right? Look at the information that was publicly available when it initially dropped. People pulled some of the data with allegations. They connected the dots between allegations used from this particular document drop. They used this information to convict Ghislaine Maxwell. And then all of a sudden it disappears. In those same allegations, Trump's name was referenced. A 13-year-old girl forced to give him a blowjob, and she bit him. And then he punched her and kicked her out. And that information suddenly disappears. But if that's not credible, do you want to be voting alongside someone who says that, well, it was credible to convict her, but not to convict him? Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to slightly, I'm not going to say pivot off this story, but here's some more information about this that I was given a tip, right? So if you want to follow along at home, and mods, I'll try to type this, I'll read this slowly so that we can put it in the mod chat if people are interested. This is, if you go to the DOJ Epstein Files page on their website, you can go and find file number EFTA. They all start EFTA. It's EFTA 01656139. Again, EFTA 01656139. This is an email Okay? It's the only file under that particular EFTA number. It's an email that's from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And it's over the course of a few hours on Tuesday, July 6, 2021. Okay? So the first email was sent, name redacted, from, to, and the subject line is Epstein. Okay? Again, Tuesday, July 6, 2021 at 1 p.m. Hi, name redacted. Hope you and your fam had a great 4th. I know you've got a lot going on this week, but I spoke with name redacted, and he has no problem with our team debriefing Epstein regarding the Schatz et al. Do you have his counsel's contact, and would you be able to dial into a debrief at any time this week? Our team can handle the report and make sure you get a copy. Again, I know you've got a lot going on this week, but I spoke with name redacted, and he has no problem with our team debriefing Epstein. That is July 6, 2021. That would be, just historically speaking, that would be 2 years after he took his own life. All right? I'm not making any assumptions. I've done a little bit of digging on this, a little bit more. So let's follow the thread. Let's follow the thread line. Okay, so that was sent on Tuesday, July 6, 2021 at 1:21 p.m. This is on letterhead from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Inspector General. Names have been redacted. Follow-up. Tuesday, July 6, 1:43 p.m. Again, Epstein is the subject matter. I can do any time tomorrow or Thursday. Friday is bad. All kinds of redactions, okay? Again, July 6, 2021, 1:53 p.m., so 10 minutes later. Thursday morning works for me, okay? Tuesday, July 6, 1:57 p.m., 4 minutes later. Are you on, name redacted, are you on Arizona time this week? If so, what does morning mean to you for this week? Names redacted, thanks. And then the last email in the thread, this actually, there's two more. 2:01 p.m., so again, around 10 minutes later, 1:59 p.m., LOL. Friday, I am on Arizona time through next week. So morning is same as you all, Thursday. Epstein does live in Colorado, so he is 2 hours behind, though he has jumped on calls as early as 9 a.m. in the past. My only other thing Thursday is a debrief at 2 p.m. Okay. July 6th, follow up, 2:01 p.m. I have a debrief scheduled for Thursday at 1 p.m. too, FYI. And then the last one in this thread is July 6th at later on that day. Oops, me too, 1 p.m., same. So, hard to kind of navigate through that, but no sound? Can you guys not hear me? Did I lose sound? I'm going to address Mark in just a second, okay? Again, this is EFTA 0165-6139. Couple of things that stood out to me. One is the date, which is the 21st of July, July 6, 2021, right? And they reference Epstein, and they reference Colorado. So I'm thinking, what the fuck is this? So then people were like, well, it could be Mark Epstein, and that's true. So I did a little digging. And what I learned was this. Mark Epstein, brother of Jeff, this is from his wiki page. This is just a kind of historical, I kind of queried about where he ever lived. Mark Epstein is known to have lived in and around New York City, born and raised in Brooklyn, longtime resident of New York throughout his life. There is no evidence in reliable biographical sources or real estate transactions that this Mark Epstein ever lived in Colorado. Public reporting and biographies focus overwhelmingly on his New York life and business dealings. Okay, so doesn't mean that he could have been there, right? Do you know who did own property in Colorado? That'd be Jeffrey Vail. He had properties in New York, in Palm Beach, on Little St. James, Zorro Ranch in New Mexico, and also an apartment in Paris. He did own property in Colorado, specifically a large estate in Vail, purchased in the 90s, located in Vail, purchased in 1994, 50 plus acres, often described as a secluded mountain estate used seasonably and for guests. So this is what I'm talking about, right? This is what I'm talking about. Like all this information. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but how would you describe that? How would you, I mean, what do we do with this information? Why is it in the Epstein files? Is it just a coincidence? Right? Why are a bunch of names redacted? I mean, why are a bunch of names redacted? Now, there was that apparently alleged AI video of someone who looked like J.E. walking the streets of Tel Aviv. I don't know, maybe. Now we've got this that just showed up in the Epstein files about Colorado. Mark, could it be Mark Epstein? Sure. Could there be other people named Epstein connected to Colorado? Sure. I guess, right? But all these things just seem way too fucking coincidental. Like way too coincidental. Why are they in the files? Why is there a file in here with these references? Why are there connections to Colorado? Why is it just a coincidence that J.E. owns a big fucking, a large secluded estate in the mountains outside of Vail? Why? I just want answers, right? This is what we're talking about when we want investigations to happen. Why is that not investigated? This goes back to the public trust, right? And how do I say this? What the Department of Justice is doing is they're relying on people to not pay attention. We are, right? We are. We are the ones that are paying attention because we believe survivors. And again, I want to shout out to Roger Sallenberger. And I've reached out to Roger Sallenberger because I want to interview him. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I've reached out twice now. I'm going to continue to work on that because I want him on the show. All these connection points, right? All these connection points. We can keep stacking them up. We can keep saying it's just a coincidence and there's nothing credible there. Well, we can easily defeat that because if it wasn't credible, then why is the information missing? Why was it used to convict Ghislaine Maxwell? How can the FBI and the DOJ, now again, in violation of the federal law by 68 days, how can they say that there's nothing credible in there? How can they say that they're ending investigations? They just want you to go away. They don't want you looking, which is why the president says, we need to move on from this. We got to talk about something else. Yeah, Diego, I know. I know that Trump is the president. You voted for a predator, Diego. He's your president. You voted for that guy. Are you proud about that, Diego? Probably. So here's where we sit, right? We watched the president go out on stage last night and lie to the American people over and over and over and over and over again about everything. Gas prices, the economy, wars, Iran, et cetera, et cetera. Members of his cabinet sitting in front of him. By the way, where was Howard Nutlick? I did not notice him last night. Was he the designated survivor from the cabinet? I don't know. I didn't see him there. He might have been there. Anyway, lie after lie after lie after lie. Pam Bondi lied. Kash Patel lied. Todd Blanche lied. Howard Nutlick lied. Dan Bongino lied. And the president is lying he was there? Okay, I didn't see him. I must have missed him. All of it's a lie. All of it. It's all a fucking lie. So if you are the most transparent president in American history, then why the fuck are you fucking lying? I know breaking through the cult is difficult. I get it. Breaking through that wall. Thank you. Breaking through that wall, I understand, is difficult. None of you who still support him want to believe this. You don't want to believe that there's this massive fucking cover-up. Alan Dershowitz's name also appears. He was interviewed. He interviewed with what's his name? Piers Morgan.
Get off being.
I want you to play this. This you're gonna hear this sound. You're gonna be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And I want you to listen to this. Right? This is part of the gaslight. So this was just recently, and he sat down with Piers Morgan and Alan Dershowitz's name. By the way, let me see if I can find that. Dershowitz's name is on here. stated that she gave this person, a survivor, gave Dershowitz a special massage on Epstein's plane, a minor. Okay, so Dershowitz, that guy, he sat down with.
Could it be that Jeffrey Epstein
with Piers Morgan? All right, and I'll play the sound for you from the beginning so you can hear it. Hold on.
Epstein just had a completely different life that he just did not tell you about. And it may also have included being a spy. I mean, clearly.
Telling me that he worked for the Mossad would have given him a get out of jail free card. I could have gotten him no jail time. If he had told me he worked for the Mossad, for the CIA, it would have been a slam dunk for me to go to whoever I had to go to, even up to the President of the United States, and I would have gotten him a deal with no time at all.
Hang on a second. You mean if he'd said he was working with the Mossad or CIA, then he would get off being a pedophile?
That's right.
Here it is again.
Could it be that Jeffrey Epstein just had a completely different life that he just did not tell you about? And it may also have included being a spy. I mean, clearly.
Telling me that he worked for the Mossad would have given him a get out of jail free card. I could have gotten him no jail time. If he had told me he worked for the Mossad, for the CIA, it would have been a slam dunk for me to go to whoever I had to go to, even up to the President of the United States, and I would have gotten him a deal with no time at all.
Hang on a second. You mean if he'd said he was working with the Mossad or CIA, then he would get off being a pedophile?
That's right.
So just for clarification purposes, Alan Dershowitz's name is all over the files, including massages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Alan Dershowitz, who represented JE, Alan Dershowitz was a financial client of JE. That's been confirmed. His defense is, listen, if I had known he was an agent for the Mossad, then I could have gotten him off. And Piers Morgan says, wait a second. If you knew that he was an agent for the Mossad, then his crimes, including P3D would just have been excused? And Dershowitz's answer was, that's right. You're exactly right. Who just said that? Donnie, you're right. This is desensitizing crimes against children. That's exactly what this is. Imagine a person who is involved in this. Alan Dershowitz is absolutely involved in this. To what extreme, we don't know. We just have, again, credible allegations. You heard him say it. One more time.
Could it be that Jeffrey Epstein just had a completely different life that he just did not tell you about? And it may also have included being a spy. I mean, clearly.
Telling me that he worked for the Mossad would have given him a get out of jail free card. I could have gotten him no jail time. If he had told me he worked for the Mossad, for the CIA, it would have been a slam dunk for me to go to whoever I had to go to, even up to the President of the United States, and I would have gotten him a deal with no time at all.
Hang on a second. You mean if he'd said he was working with the Mossad or CIA, then he would get off being a pedophile?
That's right.
I found that clip and I was just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? There's long been discussions about the Israeli government's involvement in a lot of things. Charlie Kirk's assassination, all kinds of things. Clear distinction between the Israeli government, by the way. We know about the the inner workings of the, certain the countries' intelligence agencies. I have to be careful how I say that here. Everybody keep tapping, please. And because of the power that the Mossad has, Alan Dershowitz tells you out loud that even if this guy, knowing this guy is a predator, arguably the largest blackmailer and sexual predator we've ever known, if he had just let his attorney know that he was an agent for Mossad, then he could have gotten away with it. That, friends, is exactly what we are fighting against. It's the fucking global cabal of elites. It's the people who look like me that are in power, that have achieved things in their life through corruption, through criminality, through deception, through manipulation, and they're being protected. They protect each other. They protect each other. That's what they're doing. Alan Dershowitz is telling you that. Doesn't matter. This crime's against kids. As long as he's connected to Mossad, I could have gotten away. I could have gotten him away with it. Got him away with it. I could have gotten him off of these crimes. Which then goes back to the entire Acosta situation. Alex Acosta negotiated that sweetheart deal. Initially, I think I told you this story. It's now committed to memory. Alex Acosta went to work at a law firm that a guy by the name of Jay Lefkowitz was at the same time. Jay Lefkowitz ended up being Epstein's attorney in the federal indictment charges against him in Florida. A 53-page federal indictment that would have put him away for his life. Alex Acosta was the U.S. attorney. There was a famous breakfast meeting between Jay Lefkowitz, again, they were friends, and Alex Acosta, in which they negotiated basically dismissing the federal indictments for state charges. He got that sweetheart deal, 13 months in prison, got to leave the jailhouse 12 hours a day. During that time, he committed more crimes against children and then was eventually arrested again. That Alex Acosta then became whose labor secretary? Donald Trump's. How is it that we can just find all these little things that connect, but yeah, it's all just rumor and innuendo, just allegations? Alex Acosta needs to be held accountable because he is, I don't think he gets discussed enough because of what he did. And by the way, because there are federal laws about notification of victims in these crimes and survivors, none of the survivors in this case who referenced crimes against them committed by JE, none of them were even notified about the change. None of them. So here we sit. Alan Dershowitz telling you right out loud, proudly, shit, doesn't fucking matter that he raped kids. If he was an agent of Mossad and I knew that, I could have gotten him off. To do what? Go and rape more kids? Okay. I heard that and I was just like, okay. Just a reminder, friends, do all the things. Maybe we can hit 3K today. There's 2,200 people in here. If you guys could all tap like crazy, we'd really appreciate that. Maybe we can get to 500,000 likes, and a dollar train would really put us over 3,000 a day. That'd be great. Thank you all very, very much. Reminder that we are streaming on YouTube and on Twitch. If you've not yet subscribed to those channels, please consider doing so. Update on the Do Something Tour. If you're looking for information, go to the link tree that's in my bio. The first link you'll see will be our Instagram page. Please follow along there. Thank you very much. All right. I'm going to shift gears a little bit because we promote the voices of survivors here. So you're going to hear from Maria Farmer. Maria Farmer was one, by the way, Maria Farmer is one of the bravest people that we should all recognize because she was early. She was very, she was one of the earliest people to make these accusations, and no one believed her. No one believed her. She was right about everything. Everything. So I'm going to play the sound from her. She was interviewed. I'm trying to find the context of this. She did a phone-in interview. This is posted by VLRTA Society. This is her voice that you're going to hear. She talked about her experiences. She talked about what happened. She talked about the timeline. So here you go. I'll just play this for you. Again, this is Maria Farmer. Her sister Annie has also gone public. Her sister Annie is Steve refuses. Diego, you're a great apologist. Why would I give you platform? Why would I give you a fucking space here at all? You're the one who should be embarrassed. You're the one that should be afraid because the truth is coming out and you're afraid to admit it. Why the fuck would I give you a second of my fucking time? You're not worthy. Here's Maria Farmer.
That Wexner handles Ghislaine, and Ghislaine answers to Wexner. I know that for a fact. Well, Wexner is Israeli intelligence, 100%. And I know that's where she got all of her funding to do this scam with Epstein. That woman is the most dangerous asset for Israel that you can even imagine. I mean, she is so dangerous. You know, Jeffrey was a lot less horrible than Ghislaine as far as a human being, like just being around, because she was raping just as many children. When I called the FBI, I'm going to tell you what I told them. I said, I have a report to make on someone that I've been working for that recently kidnapped me. I need to know if he's a pedophile. His name is Jeffrey Epstein, and her name is Ghislaine Maxwell. It also involves the Clinton family. It involves Donald Trump. And I said that the most important one, and I said that he's the head of the snake, is Les Wexner. And I said, he's Jewish mafia.
Here's the money, right? And then Wexner testifies last week. Republicans didn't bother to show up, and he fucking lied too. That's where the money came from. Don't forget, there was that real estate deal where Wexner gave or sold a like $30 million apartment in New York City house to J.E. Shocker that so many of the allegations of crimes committed against these girls, children, happened there. Just a coincidence, though, right? Just a coincidence. Just a coincidence. Mods, could you guys please remove Diego? I am done with him. Just a coincidence, though, right? Howard Nutlick, neighbor. Just a coincidence. Howard Nutlick lying to the American people. But again, it's just a coincidence, right? Yep. Ludnick lived next door, talked about going into the apartment and seeing this massage table. Why do you have a massage table here? Well, it's the best kind of massage. And then after they left, he and his wife said, that's it. I'm not going anywhere near that guy. The guy's a fucking creep. He's a fucking weirdo. And then lo and behold, what do we find out? What do we find out just a few days later after this reporting comes out as Nutlick testifies? We find out that he fucking lied about that too. That he ended the relationship. Well, he not only did he not end the relationship, he took his family, including his children, to the island. Nothing to see here, though, right? Nothing to see. So all of that is just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence that allegations that were used to convict Ghislaine Maxwell suddenly disappeared. Those allegations were credible enough to convict her. His name was all fucking, Trump's name was all over the other allegations, and then they disappeared? Okay. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. It's totally fine. Hi, Jen. How you doing?
Hey, I'm fine. If you don't mind, I'd just like to remind everybody the survivor, and I support survivors, but her verbiage of Jewish mafia is concerning to me. I think it's more of the Zionist, and I just don't want that categorized as all Jews. That's all I'm trying to say.
Jen, it's her words. I mean, I'm not using it. Those are her words. So I think that's the point, right? Those are her words. That's how she described it. I hear what you're saying, but that we have to keep in mind that that's just how she described it.
I just worry that they're not so. I mean, I know this chat is the smartest chat on TikTok. We've already confirmed that, but there are people in there that are not that smart and will use that as anti-Semitic.
Yeah,
that worries me.
I wouldn't. I understand. I don't think we should go there because again, it's just her words. I don't want to edit or censor her thoughts or her feelings on this. But again, those are her words. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Right. Be safe out there. All right. Bye. Again, how many controversies do we need? How many conspiracies? How many times do we have to connect the dots? How many times do we have to lay it out? How many examples of the obvious fucking cover-up? How many? How many do we have to spoon feed you? I will remind you, okay? I will remind you, people on the left, this is the kind of stuff that we are fighting against. This is the kind of stuff. So when the time comes for an election and you have a choice to make, you have to vote for harm reduction. You have to vote to make sure that the people connected to this are held accountable. Period. That's it. That is the assignment. This is a dot to dot. That's what this is. Okay? That's what this is. This is a dot to dot game. You have to, we work hard here to try to connect as many as we possibly can for you. And my labor ain't free. And you guys should be willing to invest a little bit of time to unpack this yourself instead of just being like, two wings of the same bird, whatever. Move past it. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hey, Stevie. Glad to see you survived the snowpocalypse.
I didn't get any, man. We got
I know.
none.
Yeah, I know. Where it should be snowing, it didn't. Thanks a lot.
You guys got decked.
Yes, we did. Not as bad as Rhode Island. Rhode Island got killed. Rhode Island got over 3 feet.
I saw that. I saw a video. Boston Smalls posted a video of a guy opening his garage door. It was like up to the roof.
Yeah, no, not fun. But what are you going to do? Now, my question is, I wonder how worried him and his minions are really right now about what the foreign governments are going to start releasing. And what diplomatic incidences is it going to cause? Because Poland claims they're going to release everything they get.
Yeah, I've heard the same. I'm sure Interpol's involved at this point. The Hague. We're talking about crimes against humanity. That's how serious this has become. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't have a lot of faith of rich, powerful men being held accountable. To be honest.
I don't either. That's the whole problem. All this stuff comes out and so forth. Unfortunately, nobody involved is going to actually, Dershowitz, Trump, Lutnick, any of them. None of them are going to see the justice they should see. The most that's going to happen is you're going to see people like Larry Summers have to resign and so forth. Unfortunately, it's a shame, but justice is not going to be done in this. It really is a shame. And that doesn't mean they shouldn't all be exposed. They should be all exposed. Anyone in those files, I don't care who it is, should be exposed. But it's absolutely ridiculous. And, I guess he didn't even recognize the survivors yesterday during the State of the Union. Of course, he didn't. Last time he saw them, they were all 14, so he wouldn't recognize them anyway. But it's just it's horrible. This went on for years and years and years, and all this stuff that the right wing and the MAGA cult always says, "Oh, you got to protect the children." Well, he is one of the biggest predators there, and you're just going right along. Oh yeah, I think Bill Clinton did. Oh yeah, Bill Gates. Oh, Trump. Oh no, come on.
Of course.
Come on. That's when you completely stop making sense at all. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I agree.
Right.
I agree, and I think if there's any, I'm always going to try to find the silver lining in most things, right? If there's anything that maybe comes out of this positively, is that there's an understanding of how rampant in our culture this is.
Yeah.
And how it touches every industry, every profession, every walk of life, but it's dominated primarily by white men.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that kills me is another thing with the cult is they don't even look at the fact that he surrounds himself with people who are in the same position. Like Lutnick, he wanted Matt Gaetz, who paid a 17-year-old. He wanted him as the attorney general. He surrounds himself with these predators, People forget that. He just surrounds himself with these people, they're his people. He's fine with that. He doesn't care because he doesn't like women.
I was going to say, it's a really good point that Matt Gaetz was his first pick to be the AG. Yeah. That's a real, keep that in mind.
And Matt Gaetz is out there,
yeah.
still saying stuff, and you look at him and go, Matt, you paid a 17-year-old. Shut up.
Yeah.
It's sickening and it's sad, but also real quick, your whole point on leftists from last week and so forth. I did a little experiment on Blue Social because one of them came out and said, "See, the Democrats are doing a autopsy," and one of the things was the support of not supporting Gaza and so forth. So I wrote, "Well, geez, guys, it's thanks to you and the Bernie Bros that we got them in 2016 and 2020, and they lost it. They were all upset at me."
Good.
Listen,
I'm glad they were.
You're 100% right. Stop with the purity test. Just vote. You sit there and go, look, I don't like everything about this person, but they're a lot better than that person. And if you sit back if you sit back and you're going to go, I'm going to vote Jill Stein. Why? Don't vote then. It's the same difference.
Yeah, and again, I want people to vote. I just don't want them to vote for. I don't want them to be selfish. I want people to understand what's at stake.
Oh, I do too. Like I told you, I want us to do what they do in Australia. If you don't vote, you get fined.
I don't have a problem with that.
Exactly. So.
I guess we'll see.
We'll
thanks
see.
a lot. I appreciate
you
being
take
here,
care,
Chris. Be
Stevie.
safe.
All right, bye.
Be safe, pal. Take care. Bye. He's right. I mean, again, think about the people that again, you are the company you keep. Right? You are the company you keep. You surround yourself with bad people. That's indicative of your character. Look at some of the most, the people that we would consider, iconic, just good people. There's bad apples. There's bad apples everywhere. But he surrounds himself with people that are just fucking dirty and just horrible, that are willing to do just about everything they can, everything they possibly can to protect which is a global network of predators. Anyway. All right. I've got a few other things I wanted to kind of cover for you guys. Let me do this. I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about the midterms because it's incredibly important. And with all these things said, we'll go back and I'll cover a couple of other things. But C-SPAN had a show on, and they brought on some Republican strategists. And this is a really good take. And I kind of like this. Erin McGuire is her name, and you'll hear from Chuck Rocha, who's a Democratic analyst. And they're speaking of things that I think are interesting as what the administration is doing, basically denying the conditions that they've created. But now are they scrambling? So here's the reporting, and I'll be right back.
Playbook reported on Wednesday, Trump's cabinet huddles on midterms messaging. Most of President Donald Trump's cabinet is currently meeting at the Capitol Hill Club with Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Deputy Chief of Staff James Blair, and other top Trump political advisors for a closed-door strategy session focused on how to sell Trump's agenda and sharpen the GOP's midterm message. Aaron, what do you make of that kind of strategy? Is that typical that the cabinet is getting together, the chief of staff?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to the midterms, it will be all hands on deck. And if you look at President Trump's cabinet, it's one that has been a great level of surrogacy for him throughout his presidency and before his presidency. So utilizing them where and when you can is going to be part of the midterm strategy, I'm sure, because the president cannot go everywhere and should not go everywhere when it comes to campaigning and helping races down ballot. And so for them, yes, getting ahead on this, but also not only are they getting ahead on this, they're telling people they're getting ahead on this. They made sure that this got into the press so that everybody knows, guys, we're not waiting for the midterms to come to us. We're trying to be proactive to make sure that, because they have somewhere between $300 and $500 million sitting in the president's political accounts right now on money to spend on the midterms. Part of that strategy is how they're going to be spending that money.
So as a consultant for Republicans, what's your ask to the White House? Who do you want to show up in the races that you're consulting on?
It depends on the race. It depends on the candidate and depends on the moment for the message, right? That's the big thing, is that each race is so uniquely identifiable to itself that to make a grand statement about, I want this person. Listen, if I was looking at a candidate, especially if I'm looking at more of you've got to make a Republican base play, you've got to be making a play to the right. You might want somebody like an RFK Jr. to come out for you, somebody who can draw a crowd for you and help amp up your base. I mean, you might want somebody like, a Doug Burgum, who's also been on the trail, who knows what this looks like, to be able to come out. Pete Hegseth, if you have a military installation or...
Just think about that for a second, right? Just think about that. These are the people that they potentially want to get out on the road. This is how fucked up this administration is. They don't have a policy position, so they're going to lean in on their rhetoric. You're going to send Keg's breath out, right? I would love to be, goddamn, would this be great? Maybe if I'm out on the Do Something tour, I'll get a schedule of when Pete Hegseth's going to be at a particular event, and I'll go and fucking light him up, figuratively speaking. Oh my God, that'd be great. Jesus.
Or anything military, veterans-wise. I mean, those are all good. Doug Collins, there are a lot of really great members out there that could help message.
I have a different view, shockingly, and that is that meeting was about crisis management, because this White House and the Republican Party right now is fighting a headwind. No matter, not this particular one because of Donald Trump, but any Republican or Democrat in a historical part of the opposition party always picks up seat, Greta, you've talked about this, in the next off-year election. Yeah. And we're supposed to do that. Only 3 times in history has the opposition party, no matter who they are, have not picked up seats. So you add that to the crisis, but there's more to it. There's been a whole bunch of elections that's happened since he's been nominated and been sworn in as our president. It's been over a year, and there's been hundreds of elections. And in those elections, Democrats have overperformed in many of them. And my political consultant friends can say it's a special election, it's low turnout, I get that. But in 26 of those elections, Democrats have flipped Republican seats, and Republicans have yet to flip a single seat. So
26-0, MAGA. Just want to let you guys know. 26 special elections over since 2024 have flipped state house races, mayoralships, etc., and none have gone the other way. You don't understand.
Again, it don't mean everything, but there's definitely trends that makes that be a crisis communication. And to Erin's point, where she's exactly right about, that would give them hope if I was them, is that they have a super PAC that the president controls that has $300 million in it that we have never had before in seeing an opposition to a midterm.
Let me pick up on that point because Axios reported GOP angst over voter turnout builds as losses pile up. Republicans are getting crushed in scores of state and local races, raising deep concerns about a deflated base, refusing to show up to vote, even in the most pro-Trump areas. The numbers are startling. In race after race, Democrats are outpacing their 2024 performance by double digits, a clear sign of a yawning enthusiasm gap. Erin, are you seeing these numbers?
Yeah, and they're real. The numbers are real. And it speaks to a couple of things. One, it speaks to when Donald Trump's not on the ballot, what do you do to get people out who are those low propensity Trump-only voters? This is one of the biggest questions that's going to go into this midterm cycle, because while the Republican Party, and the second part of this is that the voter propensity and style has flipped between Democrats and Republicans since the Obama era, and you've seen that realignment within the parties. The Republicans have become a bigger tent party with low propensity voters. We've got more opportunity to bring more voters in, but they don't have a normal pattern of voting behavior, so you have to try to convince someone to do something they haven't normally done. Democrats are now the tried and true, come hell or high water, snowstorm or avalanche, they will show up to vote no matter what. And it's not necessarily as a depression.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with that at all, as we've been discussing for the past couple weeks. That's what we'd like to think, right? But I don't agree with that.
A Republican vote as it is trying to convince a voter to come out again who doesn't normally behave in that fashion.
One of the statistics that I was looking at, because I dig into the numbers every day and I'm doing a lot of work in my home state of Texas, is I was looking at Tarrant County, where there had just been this special election. But Tarrant County is the largest city in America that's totally controlled by Republicans. It's right next to Dallas. It's Cowtown. I spent a lot of time at Billy Bob's there dancing, but that's a side note and a story for another day.
Yeah.
But in this Tarrant County, it's a Republican seat, but there's still 40% Democrats there, but they always get outvoted because we don't show up historically at the same rates. I looked at early vote on day one, and 8,400 Democrats voted early in Tarrant County. And I said, well, how does this compare to 4 years ago? You always go 4 years back and look at an off year. Don't do presidential primary. So I looked 4 years ago, and it was double. But then I looked at the Republican turnout on day one, and it was 6,000. But that's the first time that more Democrats had voted than Republicans. But let me give my Republican friends some credit as well.
It's a good sign.
The 6,000 number was 2,000 more than had voted 4 years ago as well. So you see energy on both sides, historic levels of turnout from both parties. It's just more for Democrats in that particular county on that particular day. But that's a pattern that's playing out across the country.
All right, well,
somebody asked the question, why don't I agree? Because historically, midterm elections have low voter turnout. And this is going back to what I said before about how, I hope I'm wrong. We've got data that tells us that we get some division on the left. We talk about the tent, right? We talk about how big the tent is in the left. And I love the fact that there's voices, right? I want communities to feel represented. Problem is when the time comes, though, what's going to happen? So we've seen voter turnout in Texas be high, right? And we've seen, them outpacing from a percentage perspective, outpacing Republicans. Again, Texas, if I've got Texas residents, anybody wants to come up and tell me this, I think this is true. It's not about a voter registration issue. It's a voter suppression issue in Texas. This is the point. So that's why this statewide election with, either Jasmine Crockett or James Tallarico is going to be very interesting. So we'll see. I just feel like there's an opportunity here, right? There's a real opportunity here because we've seen districts flip in Texas. We've seen voter registration increase. We've seen, people turning up for midterms. Remember the number 13, guys? I told you that 13. I go back to that race. I think it's Tennessee's 7th. Victoria, if you're in here, correct me on that. But I think that was the race that Afton Bain ran in. And that was a seat that was like 28, 29, or even higher than that. That Trump won in 2024. And then although that seat went to the Republican, Tennessee 7, thank you, I thought so. Although the seat went to Republican, as expected, she shaved off 13 points from that margin. 13 points. So that should tell you that districts, even if they're bright red districts, 13 is a magic number. There are dozens of Republican-held seats across the country that are inside or at that 13-point margin. Those aren't even part of the calculus. Those are not even part of the calculus as to how they expect Democrats to win the midterms. Imagine if that 13-point margin becomes, either districts that Republicans have to defend, or more importantly, districts that Democrats flip. Then you're talking about a potentially massive margin. I'm not going on the record just yet, but I would not be surprised if the margin in the House is 15 to 20 points or higher, or 20 seats or higher. I wouldn't be surprised. So the Senate, I still think is in play. I think about Maine. I think about North Carolina. I think about Alaska. Those 3 states. Mary Peltola is very popular up there. We'll see how it goes. Those 3 states right there, then you get a 50-50 tie. And then you're looking at others. I still think Texas is an uphill fight, but, I think Ohio potentially could be in play because of Sherrod Brown's popularity. There's a few others. It's go time, friends. It is fucking go time. It is absolute go time. What are you going? I think Georgia's good. I feel pretty safe. I feel pretty confident in Georgia, quite frankly, because I think John Ossoff is popular. Actually, I think I've got some sound from Mr. Ossoff that we can play because he's a great candidate. He's the kind of person that we want representing us in the Senate. Handsome fella as well. I think he's the kind of person that would represent Georgia in the Senate very admirably and eloquently. I don't think I have it sound anymore. But we're talking about here's another little pivot. I don't normally want to platform Nick Fuentes. I'm doing this for a purpose as we're talking about voter turnout. So Nick Fuentes and his group, the fucking Groyper wing of the Republican Party, had some very choice things to say about Republicans in the midterms. Here you go.
Fuck Trump, fuck MAGA, fuck all this stuff. It can't be fixed. If it could have been fixed, it would have been fixed in 2025, but it wasn't. They made every mistake. Liberation Day, disaster. Doge, disaster. Big Beautiful Bill, disaster. Epstein files, disaster. Iran, disaster. The personnel, Mike Waltz, disaster. Ratcliffe, disaster. Rubio, disaster. Pam Bondi, disaster. All self-inflicted. Trump personnel, Trump policy, Trump strategy, Trump playbook. We tried it your way. It didn't work. Fuck you. Now we don't vote. That's the message. Seriously. Can't.
Like what? Okay. Nick Fuentes, MAGA influencer known for his extremist and neo-Yahtzee views, has launched an unprecedented attack on the Trump administration, urging his supporters to boycott the 2026 midterm elections. In a recent episode of his podcast titled, "You're Fucked," Fuentes said he cannot wait for the Democrats to take the House, arguing that a Democratic majority would expose what he describes as corruption inside Trump's circle. Quote, "I hope they subpoena all of them," he said, adding that such investigations would make previous controversies look like nothing. He even speculated about a possible impeachment of the president, framing it as consequences of what he sees as betrayal by Trump and his inner circle. The young activist encouraged voters to stay home, telling his audience not to bail them out, and describing the current administration's alleged misconduct as worse than the first term. I would not have had that on my bingo card, quite frankly. Yes, MAGA in the chat. You know what you guys should do? If I were you, this is what I would do. I would take Nick Fuentes' word for it. He's giving you really good advice. You should all listen to him. Blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. Broken clock, right twice a day. Yes, exactly. Please listen to Nick Fuentes, MAGA voters. All right. Okay. A couple other things here that I wanted to get to today. Then I really wanted, we got to talk about Peter Thiel. His fucking trajectory into American politics is scary, and I don't think it gets covered enough. We're going to talk about that. First, I want to read to you something, because this speaks to what we've been discussing this morning, right? About how there's a targeted plan to overwhelm people to the point where we become desensitized to crimes against children. We become desensitized to corruption, crimes against humanity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to read some. And I love the way that she broke this down. So this is the mama attorney that I found on X. By the way, if you can stomach it, there's a lot of really good journalists that create content on X. Similarly with Substack. You can, by the way, subscribe to my Substack page if you wouldn't mind. I'd appreciate that. It's free. Okay. So again, her name is the mom attorney. I'm just going to read this to you because I think it makes a lot of sense, at least how it was framed to me. I like the way she talks about this. She's a lawyer. I previously explained the way that the Epstein files are being released as a form of psychological warfare. This is the next layer. Buckle up. I told you the document dumps were designed to flood you with horror without containment or sequencing until you either spiral or shut down. The executive orders deploy the same strategy, whether on tariffs, deportations, or pesticides. The method is identical and deliberately designed to make you collapse. Amy Dawn, if you're in here, this part is for you. This is a psyop that you always talk about. A president, the executive branch, cannot pass laws, only executive orders. An executive order is not a law. It's an internal memo to federal agencies, and the order has to be based on an existing law. Trump has been grabbing old, dusty statutes off the shelf that have nothing to do with the goal. The law used on tariffs, the 1977 War Sanctions Emergency Act, the word tariff doesn't appear in it. Even the Supreme Court was like, bro, trade policy has nothing to do with war sanctions. The law he used to boost pesticides and give immunity to Bayer, the Defense Production Act, written in 1950 during the Korean War, for bombs and ammo. Because when I think Korean War, I think pesticides and immunity from cancer lawsuits. Obviously. Sarcasm. Love it. Deportations. Law used was the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, used only 3 times in American history, 1812, World War I, and World War II. He used it to classify a local street gang as an invading foreign nation. Logical. Notice the laws that they keep reaching for. Not trade law, not agricultural regulations, not immigration statutes, just the super intense war ones. When they weaponize war language and deploy national security instruments, it's intended to activate your nervous system. Any objection is labeled unpatriotic or like you don't care about protecting the nation. People stop questioning and analyzing because they are in a fear state. The war language bypasses cognition. And just like the EF documents, the Epstein file document dumps, the volume is the weapon. This is a key part. So much is passed at once, important things hidden in between pretty things, in between actions, they know that they will lose. And it's up to the people to make sense of it. We got you. This keeps you looping, tracking, deducing, and questioning. It's not chaotic. This is the strategy. Stack orders and actions on top of each other faster than you can process them. You're not supposed to keep up. You are supposed to think it's too much and just leave. Flood the zone, Steve Bannon, until the opposition is too exhausted. That's a design. Every single executive order you don't have the bandwidth to understand is one that goes unchallenged. Every news cycle that buries the last one is a win for the Machiavellian and calculated evil authoritarians. They don't need you to agree. They just need you to give up. Executive orders take effect upon signing. Then the legal challenge happens afterwards. This takes months, sometimes years, sometimes not at all because it fell through the cracks. The tariffs collected billions before the court struck them down. It made the entire world turn against the U.S. and caused irreparable damage. The immigrants are already in a Salvadorian prison. The Roundup will be sprayed everywhere before a court can rule on whether the order exceeded executive power. By the time someone challenges it, the damage is done. Sign fast, enforce immediately, move to the next one before anyone catches their breath. This is the same playbook as the e-files. The most ruthless lawyers fight cases this way. Back-to-back motions, including many they know they will lose. Disorganized document drops, high volume but also evasive, control the outcome without having to persuade it on facts or law. It's intended to make you feel powerless and make you collapse. You know what the pattern looks like. The moment you notice the pattern, the spell weakens. Here's what to do. Stop tracking everything. Pick your main issue. If we divide the labor, we stand a chance. I love that. Stop assuming every action or initiative will become or stay the law. I didn't jump on the SAVE Act because they knew it would fail. The whole thing is a manipulation or delegitimizing the midterms, but the law itself will not pass. I did not want to cause a spiral until we had all the facts. Talk to your people in plain language. You don't need a law degree to understand that this is government overreach. When you say, quote, he used a Korean war law to protect Roundup, it makes more sense. A lot of legal language is overwhelming and makes people tune out. This is part of their strategy too. Stay alert, but enjoy your life. Justice does not require self-destruction. You are allowed to survive this intact. This is part of the rebellion too. No notes. It's true, right? By design, hang on a second. By design, they're doing this. They're telling you that they're releasing the files and being transparent. They're lying to you. They're saying we are the most transparent administration in history, right? That's what we are. We are the most transparent administration in history. And you're like, her name is the Mama Attorney, THEMAMA attorney, the Mama Attorney. I found her on X and on Instagram. This is the entire strategy. It relates to everything that we're talking about here. The fact that they're incredibly corrupt. We can see it every single day, right? Some people will chase the corruption angle. Some people will chase the Epstein files. Some people will chase the financial fraud. We all can be involved in this, right? Listen, I'm going to dub every single one of you today independent journalists. You are now in the club. You are all independent journalists. Street reporters, internet sleuths, whatever that might be. Whatever you're good at, wherever your skills are, use them. Be part of the solution to this, right? We can't possibly track it all down. It's impossible, right? Figure out what it is. Don't make it about you. Don't make it about your agenda. Make it about what you're trying to uncover. Connect the dots, right? You got plans for lunch? Yeah, I get it, Tom. That's joy. Lunch is joy. Have some New York City street food. Hopefully you're okay down there, man. I know New York got decked, but this is the point. This is what she's trying to say. They don't want you to know the details, so they'll just use headlines. They'll use rhetoric. Remember the score from PolitiFact from the speech last night. From a rhetoric, he got an A+. He got an A+ in the rhetoric, and he'll always get an A+ in the rhetoric. Always, constantly. From substance, though, no substance at all, and that's by design. The one thing that Donald Trump will be forever remembered is his ability to connect with people through a series of fucking lies and bullshit, and people will just believe it. He's been able to convince tens of millions of people that he is their savior, their champion, their hero, their fighter, that he's sticking up for you, when none of it's ever been true. It's never been true. And this is why you're starting to see, I know a lot of my friends will host lives and they'll want to debate people. And I know the crowds have been thin. They've not had a lot of people come up and engage, which is why we have a team of MAGA hunters, although I don't do it as much as I used to. I can't sit on a panel when it's 9 against 1 and just listen to people say horrible things about people. I'll do one-on-one debates with people in the opposition, right? I'll certainly do those like all day long because that's an environment where you can hopefully expose people to the truth. Right? So yeah, it takes a toll on my mental health, I got to tell you, because it's hard listening to people just in complete fucking denial. And they all scream at each other and they all will say horrible things about marginalized communities. And it's just not good for my health. I'll do it once in a while, but just anyway, long story short, this is by design. And the Epstein files fit right into that strategy. In fact, so much so that everything they've done leading up to this was to create what they've created. The ability to convince their voters that he's innocent. That everybody else is guilty, but he's innocent. That he's the one that exposed the truth. That he's the one that was looking out for victims. That he's the one survivors. That he's the one that is, trying to bring truth to power and justice for survivors. When in fact, that's never been his intention. He's just trying to get out of jail. So, yeah. Let me check over here real quick. It's snowing again. Great. So happy about that. Said no one ever. I'm done. Hector, thank you so much for your kind contribution. Thanks for all you do, Steve. We need an Untouchables SVU team led by Jack Smith, appointed by a Congress commission to take over the DOJ. Fuck yeah. Hearts in the chat for Hector. We need an Untouchables SVU team led by Jack Smith, appointed by a Congress commission to take over the DOJ. Yep. Fucking love that shit. Also, thank you to Haley. Thank you so much, Haley. I appreciate you. You're here a lot. The $5 train has been started. Thank you, Haley. Also, thanks to Amy and to Laverne. Thank you very much, you guys. You're incredibly kind. Also, over here on the other one, thank you to Carrie and to Pedro. You guys are great. And also to Aaron. Thank you very much, Aaron. I appreciate you. This is how liberty dies. Thunder applause. Appreciate you very much. You guys are great. You're awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Where was I just going to go? Oh, speaking of Jack Smith, I want to bring the story back up again because this is another example, right? This is another example. And I feel like people, how do I want to say this? Like, I don't want to contradict what I just said about not focusing on everything, but there are certain things we just can't let die, right? We can't let them just be pushed away. We can't deny the fact. We can't allow the Republican Party and MAGA in particular to rewrite what happened on January 6th. The president, because the president says something about Barack Obama, and suddenly they believe that the Obama administration was influential in getting, Antifa plants in the crowd on J6. But yet, then why would the president pardon Antifa members? That's what I'm talking about, right? And listen, I'll be as candid as I possibly can. MAGA voters are not the most well-informed individuals. I'll leave it at that. Okay? Situation that just recently happened with regard to Aileen Cannon, in case you didn't know. So Aileen Cannon was the judge overseeing the documents case, right? So she recently ruled that she blocked the public release of Volume 2 of Jack Smith's report on its investigation into whether or not President Trump mishandled classified documents after his first term in the White House. In the order filed in U.S. District Court for the Southern District, this happened on Monday, Cannon wrote that the report should not be released outside of the Justice Department, full transparency, right? Quote, due to the unlawful appointment of Special Counsel Smith and Attorney General Bondi's deliberative processes determination. He was not unlawfully appointed. We know that because Robert Hur was appointed. Bob Mueller was appointed. He was not unlawfully appointed. That's a lie. This is a federal judge lying. Cannon, a Trump appointee, and some people have mentioned as a possible short list for SCOTUS. Imagine that. She wrote that Smith and his team prepared the report for months after she dismissed the classified documents case in July of 2024, ruling that his appointment as special counsel was unconstitutional. The JD under President Biden appealed the ruling, with then Attorney General Merrick Garland telling NBC that Smith's appointment was absolutely constitutional and valid. Cannon's ruling on Monday contended that Smith accelerated efforts after her order until he left the DOJ in January 2025 to prepare and finalize the report utilizing Discover materials generated in this case. An appeals court in 2022 found that Cannon improperly exercised equitable jurisdiction in connection with the Mar-a-Lago search, and her opinions have been widely critiqued as extraordinarily deferential to the president who nominated her. You think? And don't forget, the president is suing the Department of Justice, his DOJ, because he said the Mar-a-Lago search was unlawful. No, it wasn't, because they used an actual judicial warrant. Indictment, grand jury said, yep, got a judicial warrant from a judge. Thank you, Erica. Got a judicial warrant from a judge, not an administrative warrant like ICE is using, to enter the facilities at Mar-a-Lago under the cover of the law. They did that. So first, I'm going to play for you some sound from Jack Smith as he's talking about this, and I'm going to remind our friends on the right just of a few things. So this is Jack Smith's testimony before Congress just a few weeks back.
Investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in criminal activity. After leaving office in January of 21, President Trump illegally kept classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago social club and repeatedly tried to obstruct justice to conceal his continued retention of those documents. Highly sensitive national security information was held in a ballroom and a bathroom.
So what's the significance of moving all these boxes just before June 2nd of 2022?
Because Donald Trump was on notice that his attorney was going to search that room, search for classified documents in that room. And in between the time he was put on notice of that and the time that he actually did that, at Donald Trump's direction, 64 boxes were taken out, but only 30 were returned.
When Judge Cannon issued the gag order, she cited pending cases against Trump's co-defendants. Is that correct?
That's my recollection.
Are those cases still pending?
No, they're not. The evidence established that he willfully broke the law, the very laws he took an oath to uphold. Grand juries in 2 separate districts reached this conclusion based on his actions. No one should be above the law in this country, and the law required that he be held to account, so that is what I did. To have done otherwise on the facts of these cases would have been to shirk my duties as a prosecutor and as a public servant. Today, I would do so regardless of whether that president was a Democrat or a Republican.
Okay. What is there to say? Right? What is there to say? Somebody mentioned this in the chat. There has been reporting of some sort of shadow negotiations going on. I don't know. I'll say there's been reporting. I cannot corroborate either way about some, the Jack Smith's not done, right? He's no longer part of the position of special counsel, but that he's not done. So we'll see how that goes. Jack Smith as the AG or Jack Smith as the FBI director? Don't know, don't care. Anyway, with that said, so, Aileen Cannon protecting the president. Right? There's no denying that. She got her hand slapped numerous times by the appellate court in Florida or in that area of the country because of the deference that she paid to the president, right? They have the goods. Now people want to say, well, what about Biden? He did the same thing. What about Biden? Well, there was a special counsel appointed to investigate President Biden, right? That special counsel's name was Robert Hur, H-U-R. Robert Hur, a conservative. Robert Hur went to Joe Biden's house to investigate. So in his report, and this is something that our friends on the right just tend to forget. On page 10 of the Her report, you can find it on justice.gov. Okay. So, this is on page 10. Principles of federal prosecution. I'm just going to read to you from the report. We have also evaluated all relevant considerations in aggravation and mitigation as outlined in the Justice Manual and determined that on balance, these factors do not support prosecution of Mr. Biden. Historically, after leaving office, many former presidents and vice presidents have knowingly taken home sensitive materials related to national security from their administrations without being charged with a crime. This historical record is important context for judging whether and why to charge a former vice president and former president, as Mr. Biden would be when susceptible to prosecution for similar actions taken by several of his predecessors, with one exception. There is no record of the DOJ prosecuting a former president or vice president for mishandling classified documents from his administration. The exception is, do I have a drum roll? I don't know if I have a drum roll. I need a drum roll. God damn it. The exception is former President Trump. It is not our role to assess the criminal charges pending against Mr. Trump, but several material distinctions between Mr. Trump's case and Mr. Biden's are clear. Unlike the evidence involving Mr. Biden, the allegations set forth in the indictment of Mr. Trump, if proven, would present serious aggravating factors. Most notably, after being given multiple chances to return classified documents and avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the exact opposite. According to the indictment, he not only refused to return the documents for many months, but he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to destroy evidence and then to lie about it. In contrast, Mr. Biden turned in classified documents to the National Archives, and the DOJ consented to the search of multiple locations, including his homes, sat for voluntary interviews, and in other ways cooperated with the investigation. In reaching our decision, we did not consider every circumstance in which criminal charges against a former president or VP for mishandling classified information may be warranted. But on the facts of this case, the fundamental interests of society do not require criminal charges against Mr. Biden. For this additional reason, applying the principles of federal prosecution set forth in the manual, we decline prosecution. Trump defenders in the chat, how would you like to address that? Consider these three factors. There was four factors. There was a search warrant that was granted, a judicial warrant, which allowed federal agents, based on indictments, that there was documents missing. The federal government negotiated with Mr. Trump for 18 months. He still did not turn over everything. He lied about that. We have that in the indictment. Okay? He lied about that. So they went to a judge. They say, listen, there's documents missing. Here's the paper trail. We've given them all this opportunity to turn things over. Because MAGA, you may not realize this, but unlike, you getting like a token poker chip when you go to a casino or your participation trophy, those documents don't belong to him or to any president. They belong to the government. They belong to us. Okay? They belong to us. They're ours. That's how that works. So, with that being said, the DOJ sought a judicial warrant to go to Mar-a-Lago and search for documents. And lo and behold, they find a whole bunch of shit that Trump said that he didn't have. They found a whole bunch of shit. Now, as all kinds of stuff have come out since, including the e-files, we wonder again what else is in those files and where else things might have gone, right? So there's that. So that's number two. Number three is the case was progressing, and the person who was interfering in that case was, quite frankly, Aileen Cannon. Every step along the way, she interfered. So if you're the most transparent president, then why are you comfortable with Aileen Cannon saying, no, you can't have any more information? Think about what we got from Volume 1. This is what's gone on the record from Volume 1. Volume 2, Jack Smith's not allowed to talk about under federal rules, cases sealed, investigation. Again, similar to what happened with e-files during the Biden administration. You can't release things. So if you want to apply that same logic to federal judges not allowing the information to be released regarding Maxwell during the Biden administration, then please consider applying the same logic to Eileen Cannon. But you can't do that. And then the summary on this is that Robert Hur, the investigator, in his investigation of Joe Biden, referenced the indictment against Trump by Jack Smith and said, listen, we don't have any evidence here that Joe Biden willfully retained, but according to the indictment, there's all kinds of evidence that Trump did. Most notably, after being given multiple chances to return classified documents and avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the exact opposite. According to the indictment, he not only refused to return the documents for many months, but he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to destroy evidence and then to lie about it. In contrast, Mr. Biden turned in classified documents to the National Archives and the Department of Justice, consented to the search of multiple locations, including his homes, sat for a voluntary interview, and in other ways cooperated with the investigation. MAGA, those aren't samesies. They're not. So I wanted to bring that story back into the light because this is another example of how the most transparent administration in American history isn't anything but that. So there's that. What's up, buddy? Good morning. How are you today?
Hey, what's up? Hold on. Let me get my extension cord to get my power up on here. But are you really thinking that Trump is the PDO? Is that your go-to or what?
I look at the evidence. Okay, I look at the allegations. I look at the credible. Let me finish, bro.
Stop.
If you want to have a
Stop right there.
No.
Stop
It
right
doesn't
there.
work, man. Doesn't work. If you want to have a conversation, if you want to have a conversation, I will have it with you. But you have to let me answer the question. It's that simple. You don't need to crash. If you're gonna crash, I will just kick you. It's really that simple. Would you like to have a conversation? Yes or no? You can unmute. It's a simple question. I don't know why you freaked out so much. Stop, buddy. Okay, unmute your microphone. I just sent you an invitation. Okay, so again, those are the rules. Would you like to have a conversation or do you want to crash out? It's simple.
Give me the allegations or anything with proof would be better.
Okay, so here, I don't know if you've been following along, but I broke this down this morning. So there were documents that were in the files initially when the files dropped for four witness interviews. They used that information during the Ghislaine Maxwell trials to convict her. The information included allegations against Donald Trump. They were credible enough to convict Ghislaine Maxwell. Therefore, we should all be able to deem them as credible. When people went back to look for those same documents, they were gone. Why would that be?
It's a ridiculous.
Just answer that question. Just answer that question.
Am I muted or no?
No, just answer that question.
It's a ridiculous allegation. It's an allegation. Yeah. I mean.
Okay, but it was credible enough to convict Ghislaine Maxwell.
But you don't have a credible allegation. That is like a double negative, you know?
Bro, a credible allegation was enough to convict Ghislaine Maxwell. So let's just play along, okay? If the information from this witness testimony that has now disappeared from the DOJ's website, they used that information to convict Ghislaine Maxwell, then initially during the initial file drop on January 30th, that information was in the files. Suddenly, when people went back to look, that information was gone. So if they had credible information to convict Ghislaine Maxwell, why is it not credible in regards to Trump?
And you have so much Trump derangement syndrome.
I'm asking you. Can you answer the question, bro?
You are tying him to this then?
Can you answer the question, please?
I am asking you. I am asking you. Do you tie him to this?
You didn't answer my question.
No. There's no you for you.
Do me a solid. Do me a solid.
Are you tying this to him or not? Bro,
you didn't answer my question.
You're fucking. You're weird now, dude.
Am I? So
you're weird
do
now.
me, hold on. Do me a solid.
You're weird
do me a
now,
solid.
dude.
Hold on. Hang on a second. Hold on a second. Let's start again, okay? What did you have for breakfast today?
Where is Trump?
Nobody fucking cares. That's the cult, friends. That's the cult. You just saw it, right? We just saw it on full display. That's the cult. This is what happens. They're pressed now, right? They're pressed. They have TDS. It's called Trump denial syndrome. Okay? No one is willing to address that question. No one is willing to say, okay, if the information was there, then the information is not there. The information was used to convict Ghislaine Maxwell. Credible. Court went through the case, but suddenly it's not. You'll notice that when I pressed him a little bit to say, please explain that to me, it became the personal insults. It became the ad hominem attacks. Right? I know. I was talking about your daddy. Listen, man, you're not going to get picked. You're not going to the ballroom. You're not going to Mar-a-Lago. You're not going to get invited to the State of the Union. You're not going to go to Bedminster. You're not going to play golf. He doesn't give a shit about you, man. He doesn't fucking care. He doesn't give a fuck about you. He laughs at you. He used you. He used you to get into power. He's ripping you off. He wants to take $10 billion of your taxpayer money for himself. He wants to take another $10 billion and give it to the Board of Peace, of which he's the person who can control the money. He's suing the Department of Justice for $250 million because he didn't like the fact that he got busted taking documents. That's $20.2 billion. He lied to you, man. He lied to you last night. He told you gas prices nationally are $2.30. They're not. 10 cents. They're down 10 cents since the end of December of 2024. He used you. And I know you're angry and you're lashing out, and I get it. I get it. You know what? If we had universal health care, Medicare for all, you could go see a therapist because you need it. There's a soft landing available for you, but you've got to wake the fuck up. You got to wake up. You're stuck in this spinning, this spiral that's taking you down. It's just taking you down to this dark fucking place. And you're going to be asked questions in 10 years. What side of history are you on? People that are not born today, children that you might have, I hope you don't, but if you do, these people, young kids, they could be in preschool, they don't know who Trump is. But all of a sudden, people are going to be like, okay, this guy who cheated on his first wife after he raped her, cheated on his first wife with his second, cheated on his second with his third, cheated on his third with multiple women, including a porn star and including a Sports Illustrated model. When his daughter Tiffany was 1 year old, he commented on the size of her breasts. He talked about having sex in common with his daughter, talked about dating a 10-year-old in 10 years, bragged about grabbing women by the pussy, said when you're a star you can do it, was found civilly liable for graping a woman by forcibly and deliberately penetrating her vagina with his fingers. And he's named all over the fucking e-files, and you're going to have to defend that. You're going to have to defend that. I don't. Not one fucking second. I don't have to defend it. And I know that overwhelming majority of people in here today don't either. We don't have to defend it, but you do. You do. So, but the Dow, exactly, Jess, but the Dow. You're the one that's going to have to defend it, not me. You're the one that's going to have to, explain to people who might look to you, Daddy, Peepaw, can you tell me, if something happened to me, would you believe me? And your answer would be, what were you wearing? Why were you there? Did you egg him on? Maybe you shouldn't have put yourself in that position. Okay. That's what you're facing. You can come up here and crash out. I tried to give you an opportunity to talk, but you didn't want to. You just wanted to sit in your space because you have Trump denial syndrome. TDS. Everybody around this guy has got connections. His commerce secretary, my man, lied to you. Pam Bondi, the attorney general, lied to you. Todd Blanche, the deputy AG, lied to you. Kash Patel, the FBI director, lied to you. They've all lied. They are lying to protect a president. And they are lying to protect the person that you've become, that you idolize. They're lying to you. They're protecting predators. But you're probably focused on men and women's sports, aren't you? Because that's what the president told you to focus on. He told you to focus on the immigrant population. He told you that the worst of the worst are here. The worst of the worst. And we know overwhelmingly so. People detained by ICE, no criminal records whatsoever. But because he tapped into the worst of your personality, the worst of your character, your hatred, your racism, your bigotry, your misogyny, your transphobia, your anti-gayness, all of it. And he pushed and he pushed and he pushed and he got you to believe that all those marginalized communities are the threat. And he's the one that's the threat. He's the one that's dividing America. He's the one that's taking rights away. He's the one. He's the one that told you to be afraid. He's become your identity. And you join a TikTok live and you get angry. You get angry because you can't answer a simple question about why they could use information from these files that are being hidden by his administration to convict people. And you couldn't answer a simple question. Instead, you yelled and you screamed and you shouted and you called me names and told me that I'm deranged. And I'm sure I'll get all kinds of interesting comments. I'm not the one that has to defend it, my guy. It's not me. That's you. And I would just ask you this, human to human, what are you defending? What are you defending? You've made a clear choice that you're going to go down with the ship. I ask you, why? Shouldn't be that hard to answer that question. Hey, Tom.
Hey, good morning, man. How are you? How's it going? Great job, of course. I hope you're doing well raising money for your trip. That's probably going to be really great. Really great for everybody that speaks to you. And just to really, I mean, I got to hand it to you. To do that is something that however many people are in here, probably there's one person here that's doing that, and that's you. So...
Thanks, man.
You know, thank you
generous,
sincerely.
by the way. I appreciate it.
And I hope that everybody appreciates it as well. They should.
Thanks.
And yeah, man, you know, it's interesting how when you like look at any kind of research or any kind of like, I'm a nerdy guy, so like science experiments, when you see one factor, one thing that pops up in all of those things, it makes you kind of connect them. You know, and I feel like I have this thread that I'm sure everyone kind of, you know, you always say it. You have the smartest chat on TikTok, that the commonality is fear. If you were to just think of almost any of the policies or anything that they do, saber rattling and so on and so forth, the common denominator is fear. They're scared. They're being sold that fear. And then when they're sold that fear, they sort of lap it right up. And it's just exactly their personality. It's almost like as though that is just the injection they get. They get the injection of fear. You know, obviously, you know all the things. It's the horde. It's the trans people. Your kids go to school. They come home a different. It's absurd. All of it is absurd. And I just wanted to say that because it feels like that is the common thing. It's that other thing with projection. As strong as they claim that they are, and they're so alpha, they're snowflakes when it comes to being afraid of just about everything. You pointed it out a couple of minutes ago. I wouldn't want to do that. I don't have to go around defending someone who ran into a locker room of a 15-year-old. I don't have to do that, man. Never. No days of the week. And they have to do it all the time. But thank you for letting me up, and I appreciate you, man.
Before you leave, a question for you. I mean, you're an actor and you're a comedian, so you know the human condition. You speak to all kinds of people, and I'm sure you've seen all different types of people, all walks of life. You've been on stage in front of people from all walks of life, Trump supporters, non-Trump supporters, people that are active. Have you seen in your conversation with people, not even necessarily about politics, have you seen anything like this ever before in your life about the loyalty towards one particular thing like this ever?
Never. The actual vitriol and the dedication to this, I've never seen it before. You know, I'm doing comedy now 26 years or so. So I've gone through a lot of the different ebb and flows of our sort of society. I mean, I saw texting and cell phones come into society. It is this like ravenous attitude. And I'll tell you one other thing that's quite interesting. Red hats went away.
Yeah.
They're gone. When I did gigs, they were around, they were all over the audience years ago. They were all over the audience. They had their shirts on. They talked. Now they're kind of hiding in the shadows.
And it's obvious why, based on our previous guests. Thank you for your insight, bro, and for your support of what we do here. I appreciate you. Have a good day.
Same, brother. I'll see you guys.
Talk to you soon. All right, bye. Love Tom. Great perspective on things. Comedians know people. You know, you stand there, you're fucking vulnerable on stage, and you know people. You can figure shit out. You can take the pulse. I mean, I think about George Carlin. I think about Lenny Bruce. You know, comedians. First of all, an underappreciated profession. As someone who does stand up as a hobby, fucking hard as shit, but it's always been able to poke the bear in the consciousness, which is partly why the Trump administration likes to go after comedians, because they call their fucking shit out, right? they call their shit out. And again, thank you, Tom. I appreciate your support. But what we witnessed, right? What we witnessed from this person this morning, you're crashing out because you're defending a predator. Like, what? We don't have to defend it. You do. Somebody would say, well, you defend Biden. Yeah, I would say, well, Joe Biden.
And I'm not saying take all their funding. I'm not
saying Joe Biden wasn't progressive enough for me. That'd be my criticism. Okay. Yeah, I didn't like the fact that he still took money from big oil. I didn't like the fact that he opened up drilling in areas that I would not have. I didn't like the fact that he didn't push hard enough to codify women's rights into law. That's criticism. I don't have to defend him. I don't fucking worship politicians. I just don't. Nobody should. Nobody should. Yeah, comedians were almost like the first journalists, to be honest, court jesters. They were always the one that held up a mirror to whomever the audience was, whether it be royalty, whether it be civil society, whatever that might be. Fucking hearts in the chat for fucking comedians. Seriously. And just people who speak the truth, right? People who are not afraid to call truth to power. That was just part of me, right? I know there was a reaction in the chat, but part of me was sad going through that conversation. You're welcome, Tom. Thank you, bro. Part of me was sad going through that conversation with our previous guest, right? Why? Why are you going through the efforts of defending this? It's one of the reasons that I'm not going to go to spaces much anymore, just because what's the point? And I'm a humble guy, but I've got 130,000 followers. And that brings people in, and I don't want to expose my audience to that bullshit. There are certain topics that I just cannot. I'm like, I gotta get in there and talk. But here we sit. A day after a speech that's intended to unify the country. And all it did was promote more lies and bullshit. More corruption, more fraud, more criminality, more harmful and hateful rhetoric towards people who don't deserve it. People just want to live their fucking lives. And that's kind of what the Do Something Tour is about. Traveling the country, talking to people, just having conversation with people, whomever that might be. I don't have a mute button. I'm just going to be out there exposed. Sure. Is it a little scary? Yeah, definitely. But I'm in. If you want to help us out, you can do that in a variety of ways. You can either support the channel financially. You can maybe pick up some merch if you represent a business that might want to be a keynote sponsor. We are accepting applications for sponsors now. We're a little bit behind on our fundraising, but we'll get there. We'll get there. We've pushed some timing out a little bit. Probably going to be traveling via air early on in the spring, so I can go to some targeted events. There's a couple of big events on my radar that I want to get to, and then in the fall, after I drop our daughter off at college, I'm going to be hitting the road for 2 months straight, ultimately, leading up to the midterms, because this is important. And I'm trying to imagine myself if I was sitting across the table from that person, right? And I would just be like, I don't know why you're so angry. Why are you going to these lengths to defend this? Don't you want the truth exposed? Got it. Don't you want the truth exposed? Don't you want all of these fucking monsters? All of these monsters exposed? Don't you want justice for survivors? These are children we're talking about. These are children. There's reporting of infants being involved in this. I don't know if previous guests, not Tom, but before that, I don't know if you've heard people on the left saying, we don't give a fuck. Lock them all up. We don't fucking care. Have you seen anybody up here defending Bill Clinton? Anybody? I would challenge you to go to any liberal-leaning left-wing space and ask anybody, ask the host, hey, you're defending Clinton. What are they going to say to you? Like, fuck no. Well, no, none of us care. We're not the ones walking around defending corruption, defending fraud, defending criminality. We are standing for people who've been accused of things without evidence. We are standing up for marginalized communities. We are standing up for women. We are standing up for the black and brown communities, marginalized communities across the board, the disabled, the infirmed, people whose policy choices supported by voters are harming them. You vote with people who don't think food is a fucking right, and you're defending a predator. You're defending a guy whose name is all over these files. At the direction of him, his Department of Justice is hiding his crimes, allegedly. I just walked this guy through a scenario. Here's the situation. We've got evidence here. We've got evidence there. We've got evidence here. We've got evidence there. These are credible claims. The only way to know if they are truly incredible or credible would be to investigate. Are you one of the people that believes he's exonerated? How can you possibly sit there and say that? How can you possibly sit there and say that he's been exonerated? He hasn't been exonerated. We want them all locked up. My fear, is that the survivors in this case, girls and boys, women and men now, will never get justice because of people like you, sir. Because you're not willing to fight for them. I am. I don't even know them, and I'm fighting for them. It's not about me, but this is what we're talking about. This is the divide in our society. You're defending a pathological liar, a fraud, a convicted felon, an insurrectionist traitor, a guy who broke his oath numerous times. You're defending that. Why? Where were you? Who hurt you? And where were you broken? Where did you lose your fucking humanity? Where did you lose your humanity? Where were you able to convince yourself that food isn't a right? Where were you able to tell yourself, look in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm going to believe the billionaires that have been taking advantage of people for centuries over children's voices. And you wonder why women don't come forward? You wonder? And I see women on these panels who talk about their abuse, and it fucking guts me because probably many of them were not believed, and yet here they are saying women lie all the time. And I'm like, how the fuck do you square that? How do you square it? Again, you're the one that has to defend this. You're the one that's going to be great. Yeah, see what I mean? You see what I mean? This is what I'm talking about. And I know this is a troll. I get it. I know this is a troll. But is that comment so hard? Is that comment not believable? Abhorrent behavior from crazy Democrats. And I know that's a troll. But there's many people that think that way. There's going to be people in this space today and on right-wing podcasts are going to be claiming that President Trump delivered the greatest State of the Union address in American history. I can't convince them otherwise. All I can do is say, well, this is a lie, and it's easy to prove. The president comes up there and tells you that gas is $2.36 a gallon nationally. It's just not. It's not even a question. It's just a fucking lie. But again, yes, your gas prices are down 10 cents. Are crimes against children, boys and girls, worth 10 cents? Child grape, schmurder, disappearing, corruption, protection, etc. It's worth 10 cents. Do you get all excited when he's ultra nationalist? The red, white, and blue glazing fest we saw last night. And I'm really disappointed in the United States men's hockey team. I'm really disappointed. Another just, more degradation of women. By the way, the first invitation should have gone to the women's team because they won their medal first. And good for them for saying, I'm not going. This is fucking... I know people come here for the news, but every once in a while we got to get right down to it. This is about humanity, man. That's what this is about. This is about humanity. This is about the most cherished things in our society. Our children. We hear that from the right all the time. You want to protect kids. You don't. You don't care. You just don't. As long as you can find a warm, cozy place for your hatred. You live in this world of rhetoric. As long as the rhetoric machine is cranked up, you're going to hop on board. You don't respect human rights. You don't respect the Constitution. You don't respect the law. You don't respect science. You don't respect education. You don't respect any of these things. Any of these things. By the way, so many of those things would make your life better. It just would. It would make your life better. But nope. You're defending predators. I can't help you with that. Everybody keep tapping, please. I do want to make sure that we're not forgetting the elements at work because it's not just Trump. I've said this a million times. Trump didn't make America this way. Because America is like this is why we have Trump. And the underlying current underneath it all are people like Peter Thiel and others. So HR.news did this interesting expose on him. It's reported by Marcus Brown. I'm just going to read parts of the story to you because this is part of it, right? This is part of what people like Peter Thiel and others have used the rhetoric that comes from the Trump administration and Trump in particular to convince his voters to vote for him so that they can then have the power. You talk about the deep state. You talk about the fucking puppet masters. These are the people who are the puppet masters. Peter Thiel, billionaire, FBI informant, gay Republican, neo-Yahtzee funder, grape apologist, anti-democratic, real-life Bond villain. The architect of the tyrannical surveillance state, open proponent of dystopian fascism, who allegedly injects the blood of children to stay young. Did you guys know that? Oh, yeah. Yep, that's Peter Thiel. Born to German parents in Frankfurt in the 60s, Thiel's father, Klaus, was a mining project manager who chose to work on the construction of a uranium mine near Swakopmund, Namibia, part of a clandestine project by the apartheid government to build a nuclear weapons program. This site was notorious for its continued glorification of Yahtzeism, including openly celebrating Schmittler's birthday. When Thiel arrived at Stanford years later, he apparently carried that worldview with him. According to Thiel's biographer, Max Chafkin, 2 separate Stanford classmates recalled him telling them that, quote, apartheid works and was economically sound. In 1995, Thiel co-authored The Diversity Myth, Multiculturalism and Political Intolerance on Campus. The book attacked multiculturalism as a war on Western civilization. Its core argument was that a functioning society requires cultural conformity. One culture, one tradition, everything else is a threat. Where have we heard that before? It is a white nationalist ideology with a Stanford degree stapled to it. This is why he is incredibly dangerous. Because he's smart, brilliant, some would say. But he is a full-blown fucking neo-Yahtzee. There is no denying it. He is loud and proud about it. And he, Palantir, is part of the espionage state, spying on us, right? Thiel wrote in 2009, quote, since 1920, the vast increase in welfare beneficiaries and the extension of the franchise to women, 2 constituencies that are notoriously tough for libertarians, have rendered the notion of capitalist democracy into an oxymoron. Queens, see? They are so afraid of you. He also wrote in the same essay, quote, I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. All right. Such a nice guy. He is also a central patron of what's been called the Dark Enlightenment. This shit is fucking scary. A neo-reactionary movement that argues democracy has failed and should be replaced by technocratic authoritarianism. What's the big deal that a bunch of billionaires, a very small group of billionaires, then get to run our entire society? Curtis Yarvin. Yes, exactly. Its primary theorist, Curtis Yarvin, has described Thiel as a, quote, fully enlightened individual. All right. There is no J.D. Vance without Peter Thiel. Thiel hired Vance at one of his companies, introduced him to Trump at a Mar-a-Lago event, and made him a viable Senate candidate in 2022 by pouring a record $15 million into his super PAC. He created the career, shaped the ideology, and handed Vance a political identity built on the same resentments Thiel had been cultivating since the Great Diversity Myth. So when J.D. Vance, who is just a fucking amoeba, who's an opportunist, who will just go where anybody to help him advance himself, when he says that white people in America no longer need to apologize for being white, where do you think that comes from? Yeah. In 2023, Business Insider reported that Thiel had been working as a confidential source for the FBI, providing information about foreign governments attempting to infiltrate Silicon Valley. Reuters confirmed the broad outlines of the story. Vance, Masters, and others in the Thiel network had made, quote, attacking the FBI a central part of their political brand. The FBI, as the corrupt instrument of the deep state, weaponized against real Americans. Real Americans. So if you're a naturalized citizen of our country, are you not real? If you are an immigrant seeking asylum and you become a citizen, are you not real? If you weren't born here, are you not real? So as I'm finishing the story for you, keep in mind some of the pushes that the Trump administration is using to try to, recolor America, so to speak. Voting rights. We can't let black people vote. The SAVE Act. We can't let women vote. Medicaid, Medicare cuts. Well, the welfare system is the biggest problem we have here. Understand where this shit comes from? This is the fucking plan. This is what they have been working on for decades. And again, I will say this to people on the left, right? Imagine, this is the analogy that I like, it makes sense to me. Peter Thiel, the Trump administration, they grabbed a fine piece of china off the shelf. It took them a second to throw it on the floor. It smashes into 1,000 pieces. What the left wants is to fix that plate as fast as it was broken. It's impossible. It's impossible, right? They are invested. They've been playing the long game. We need to as well. Yeah, the for-profit prison industry buying up these warehouses across the country. We talk about what happened in Merrimack, New Hampshire. There was some good news where they stepped in and said, no, it's not going to happen. But what happens to those facilities after they deport all the bad people? I'm expecting a knock on my door any fucking day. I'll make it easier for you. Hey, Trump administration, Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, the president, the vice president, Stephen Miller. I'm Steve. Facts. I go live every Monday through Friday, 8 till noon Eastern time. Right here on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. Fuck you. Go buy some merch. Bring it. I don't fucking care. Bring it. Bring it. This is what happens, right? This is what happens when authoritarian takes over. I joined Sinjay briefly last night because there was a conversation with some panelists that she had from Europe saying that the U.S. is on the verge of fascism. And I said, I think we're here. I think we're already here. Right? There's always been elements of fascism in our country, for example, but you need to check every single box. And I think we're here. And it's fueled by the billionaire class, the same billionaire class that benefits from the policies that they are funding to get passed. It's not complicated. It's really not. Follow the fucking money, you guys. Tell you every day. Follow the money. Jay Nice, how are you?
Good. How are you, Steve?
I'm okay. How you doing?
I don't think you should worry about them coming after you because what has Pam and Patel done? I mean, they haven't charged anybody. The Doge fraud, where's those charges? Nothing is getting done with them.
Right, but that's their own. They're not going to go after Elon.
Right, but Elon's supposedly finding all the fraud.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nothing,
Yeah,
So I'm like, nothing has been done. Like they keep saying that, they're transparent. They're going to, go after all the bad people. I mean, they have yet to do anything and they have the complete power right now and they're doing nothing. So I'm like, yeah, it's embarrassing, like just embarrassing.
Embarrassing is a good way to put it. Yeah, it's embarrassing along with a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for jumping in today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you have a great day.
Same to you. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
You got it. Okay, what's this? Everybody keep tapping. We'll go till noon today. The cold medicine's wearing off, but I'll make it. I'll rally. Let's go.
Hey.
Hi there.
I know
How are
I was
you?
up already once, but I'm working
That's all
and
right.
listening to you at the same time. One of the questions that I raised with people in conversation, and it seems to have really kind of been glossed over until very recent days, is if we are, and I'm not condoning any of this, I'm just using what we know to be their claim. If these people are being rounded up, and most of them aren't even fitting in the categories they originally said they were going after, because we haven't seen them go to a single dangerous gang neighborhood they claim exist, right? When you're going to deport people, why do you need permanent structures? You could use any kind of setup, couple days, get them out. They're not giving them their due process, and you're deporting them. Why are we building things? Why are we buying things, buildings, so they can make these permanent structures? So to the woman you just had up before me, when she said they're not coming after you, well, when they're done with deporting all those people, who are they going to put in all these permanent structures they've created? The next group of people that they're going to go after, right?
Yeah, I look good in orange.
Well, I don't. Although jumpsuits can be flattering.
Sure.
But in all seriousness, if there isn't a plan to keep filling up these facilities with other people when they've deported the ones they claim they're deporting, then what else are they for? They're either permanent because those people are never going to be deported and these are going to turn into literal work camps, or they're going to go on to the next group of people that they feel don't deserve to be here. And that is
correct.
They've already named at least 5 categories that they're also interested in doing away with.
Our friend Erica Shante in the chat just said it. First they came. That's exactly right. First they came, and then they came, and then they came, and there was eventually nobody left.
Exactly. And so, when you're looking at the number of facilities that they're talking about, either buying or literally building from the bottom up, what are you going to do? Are you going to turn those into colleges and schools and learning centers later? Is that you got such a lofty goal that when you deport all the people that don't belong here because they're so horrible, that we're going to now use those facilities for something really positive? Yeah, no, that's not happening.
No, it's not. Thanks for coming back. I appreciate you for being here. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for
Have a good
entertaining
day.
me again.
You got it.
Okay, bye.
You got it. My pleasure. Talk to you later. Bye. So that's kind of the point, right? These facilities popping up all across the country, taxpayer dollars being used to build it. It's the pipeline to cheap labor, right? Okay. Let me just finish the story on Peter Thiel. Thiel's Palantir has built its billions, speaking of surveillance, has built its billions on surveillance contracts. The military, the CIA, ICE during family separations, police departments across the country. It presents itself as defending Western civilizations from its enemies. In February of 2025, CEO Alex Karp said, quote, "I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts that try to screw us." He sounds like a nice guy. That quote again, "I love the idea of getting a drone and having light F-drug-laced urine spraying on analysts that tried to screw us." Yeah. Day in the life. Then co-founder Joe Lonsdale in January 2026 endorsed a social media post calling for communists in the Western Hemisphere to be, quote, blown up. Writing in response, exactly. What did you think founding Palantir was supposed to be about? No joke. No clarification. No walking it back. This is who these people are, and this is what they think they are building. The Thiel Foundation gave millions to a fund with a documented pattern of financing organizations that the Southern Poverty Law Council classifies as white nationalist hate groups. The Thiel Foundation has never responded to press inquiries about where its money goes. We're talking tens of millions of dollars to support some of these far-right extremist organizations that the Southern Poverty Law Council has actually deemed white nationalists and or domestic terrorists. But again, Alex Preddy and Renee Good were domestic terrorists. Okay. Thiel has publicly expressed serious interest in parabiosis, the experimental concept of plasma transfers from younger individuals as a potential anti-aging treatment, and has invested heavily in longevity research. You know who else was into that? Yeah. You know who else was into that? JE was into that too. Genetic coding, genealogy, Zorro Ranch was one of those places that they talked about potential experiments, right? Don't forget there was that there was some of the reporting, I'll try to be less graphic, about how they would use magnifying glasses on the bodies of young children to test them for their, I don't know, capacity to sustain pain. Yeah, the mustache man as well, right? Nothing to see here, though. This is fine because you got 10 cents off in your gas. The FDA warned in 2019 that young blood transfusions have no proven clinical benefit. Thiel has kept investing anyway. And this quote by Peter Thiel: "A little grape keeps you on your toes." But, 10 cents in gas. Lock up the immigrants. Lock up all those awful people. They're the problem. Nice. Good shit. Tia, how are you today? Hi, Tia. Are you there? Tia, did you request? The progressive in your pocket. Sorry. Okay, no problem, Tia. The Miss J, how are you today?
I'm good. I think that you tried to let me up a bit ago and I hit the wrong button. I apologize for that.
No sweat. No problem.
I just had an update that I just saw that I don't know how relevant you want to talk about it, but apparently there was a high stakes Pentagon meeting today with Hegseth where he gave an Anthropic head, Dario Amodei, the ultimatum to allow the Pentagon to use Anthropic's AI model for mass domestic surveillance and kinetic autonomous operations without human oversight, or face censure and be labeled supply chain threat. So I just wanted to give that update.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I saw something about that this morning. I'll do a little bit of work on that later today. And
Crazy.
We can talk about it tomorrow. But I did hear that. But again, that's the surveillance state. So this is Peter Thiel's money. That's it, right? So thank you for that, Ms. J. I appreciate you for jumping back in. And don't worry about requesting earlier. So I appreciate you
Fight the good fight out there, Steve. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you back. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Yeah, but nothing to see here, right? Nothing to see here. You guys know me. Not a conspiracy theorist, but more and more and more and more fucking Q had some shit that was fucking right. I'm telling you. It's wild. I'm not going flat earth. I'm not going gematria. Although, I don't know. So we have some reporting from the UK. UK to release Mountbatten Windsor trade envoy files after Epstein scandal and arrest. UK lawmakers have pushed for the release of files on Mountbatten Windsor's trade envoy role and ties to JE amid misconduct and secrecy allegations. The UK government will release confidential papers related to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's appointment as trade envoy after pressure from lawmakers in a scathing parliamentary debate. During Tuesday's debate, MPs called for greater accountability for the British royal family and said the king's brother had put his friendship with JE ahead of his duty to country. The motion was approved and demanded, The motion was approved, demanding publication of the documents after Mountbatten Windsor was arrested on charges related to allegations that he shared government reports with Jeffrey while he was trade envoy. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government backed the motion, assuring its passage. Quote, frankly, it is the least we owe victims of the horrific abuse that was perpetrated by JE and others. The abuse that was enabled, aided, and abetted by a very extensive group of arrogant, entitled, and often wealthy individuals in this country and elsewhere, UK Trade Minister Chris Bryant said of the government. Mountbatten Windsor, who was stripped of his royal titles last year, is being probed by police over allegations that he shared sensitive documents with disgraced financier and convicted offender JE during his time as envoy. Mountbatten Windsor was arrested last week on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Law must take its course. Okay. Other people can hold them accountable. Other people can hold these predators accountable, but we can't. Nope, we can't. We can't protect kids. We can't protect women. We can't protect people who've been abused. No, we protect them in our country. We prop up the U.S. men's hockey team after they were celebrating as the president was mocking the U.S. women's team. We do that. Can we have a fucking matriarchy, please? Please? I was chatting last night, and the debate whether or not we can end racism first or misogyny first. And it's probably racism. Neither one, likely. Neither one, but seems like we'd have a better shot at that. These people, Queens, you don't need me to tell you, they are terrified of you. They are terrified of you. And I'll say it again, whatever the next iteration of our country looks like, black women have to be leading us. They have to be leading us. They tell us every fucking day. They tell us every day. They show us every day. They remind us every day. Every fucking day. Every fucking day. And until we get people, white men and white women in particular, understanding that as well, then we're stuck. Progress is being restricted by the people in power who benefit from it. The it being white supremacy. It's pretty telling, isn't it? It's pretty telling. All right, a couple more things that I wanted to kind of cover off on here. Let me see, where is it? I played that for you guys. Did I cover this? We got Mandelson covered. We talked about him getting out. Oh, here's more incompetence. There was a great moment last night that I caught from one of the cameras that were in the well of Mark Kelly. You know, Mark Kelly, decorated combat vet, war hero, astronaut, fucking badass son of a bitch, who was, of course, thrown under the bus in an attempt to kind of cut his pension, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, it was such a great moment. Just sitting there like, you fucking kidding me? Well, they failed in an attempt to try to get their indictments because the judges are like, this is fucking bullshit. They didn't do anything wrong. All they did was remind people about their oath, right? Well, Jeanine Pirro, former fucking, who's the comedian? What's her name on SNL? Cecily Strong? When she did her Jeanine Pirro on Weekend Update with a glass of wine. One of the best bits ever. Hilarious. A federal grand jury in D.C. unanimously rejected the attempt to indict 6 lawmakers who told military and intelligence community members on social media not to obey unlawful orders. Remember, grand jury indictments are really not that difficult to get. They're really not. And they fail everywhere, they being the Trump administration. Jeanine Pirro's office has decided to stop pursuing the case against 6 Democratic lawmakers who urged members of the military and intelligence communities in a social media video not to comply with unlawful orders, 3 people familiar with the matter told NBC News. It's a win. Roughly 2 weeks ago, as first reported by NBC, a federal grand jury in D.C. unanimously rejected an attempt by Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, to indict lawmakers over the video, illustrating that grand jurors didn't think the government had passed even the low legal threshold of probable cause required to bring an indictment. While a potential case against the 6 lawmakers is now considered dead in D.C., that decision wouldn't necessarily bar a federal prosecutor from trying to bring a case in a different federal court, though there have been no public indications that will happen. Legal experts and Democrats have criticized the unprecedented attempt to use the immense power of the Justice Department to punish 6 members of Congress as a purely political attack on protected free speech and a sign that the guardrails that existed during the first Trump administration have been eroding. The president responded to that post they put out by saying, sedition at the highest level, and then reminded people that sedition is punishable by death. But again, 10 cents for gas. You're not going to get the invite to Mar-a-Lago. You're not going to Trump Towers. You're not going to get a ride on Air Force One. You're not going to be part of the motorcade. You're not going to the ballroom. You're not going to play golf. You're not going to get a selfie. You're not going to get picked. You're just not. It's not going to happen. So where does it leave you? Here's the thing. You know, the people who I was speaking to earlier will all likely probably get, you know, the 300 or so death threats I've gotten since I've been doing this. I still want you to have health care. I do. I still want to make sure that your kids can eat. I still want you to have, you know, the ability to retire with dignity, not have to work until you're 85 and then drop dead because you didn't have health care. I still want you to have all those things. Do you know why? It's not because I'm some bleeding heart liberal, although part of me is. It's because I just know that if we can all do better, then we all do better. You want to be healthy? Give people access to health care. Do you understand why countries around the globe can justify putting restrictions on certain ingredients in food? It's because they pay for health care through the government, your taxpayer dollars. It's pretty simple, right? Well, listen, since we're flipping the bill, we want to make sure that we're not putting toxins in food. The fucking MAHA movement, countries like the UK and other countries in Europe and Canada and any country around the globe that has socialized medicine, we're the ones that have fucking shit in our food. We're the ones that have got fucking green slime or whatever the fuck it is, in all the processed bullshit. That's why you want to fix the problem. You want to be healthy? You can choose raw milk or whatever else. Or you can say, you know what I'd like to do? I think it'd just be better to have universal health care. Do I still have this little bit of sound? This is kind of funny. Do I have this? You guys will laugh at this. Here's a juxtaposition. This is Bill Clinton, 1992. And then RFK Jr., 2026.
England. I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
You know, I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats.
One more time.
And when I was in England, I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
You know, I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats.
Listen, Bobby, back in the 80s, bro, I kind of feel you. I'll leave that right there. But that's the guy who's setting up public health policy. When I was in England in 1992, I tried marijuana. I smoked it. I didn't like it. Well, last year when I was struggling, I used to snort blow off of toilet seats. Dagnabbit. One more time.
And when I was in England, I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
You know, I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats.
But did you ever inhale marijuana off a toilet seat? Probably not. I'm not making fun of substance use disorder. I think it's a horrible situation people find themselves in. You know what would help with that? Medicare for all. You know what? You know, I have a very progressive approach to substance use disorder that people, even who I align with politically, don't necessarily agree with. Like, I fully support safe injection sites. I support treating the problem, not criminalizing it, not demonizing it. If you want a holistic approach to making our society healthier, then you got to invest in it, right? You got to invest in it. My oldest will be 1 year sober tomorrow, which is fucking awesome. I'm super fucking proud of him. He got support. He hit bottom for him, you know, but he's going to be 1 year sober tomorrow. I'm so fucking proud of him. And because he said, I don't want to do this. You know, I don't want to do this anymore. Alcohol. So here we sit. We've got a society that just, again, demonizes people, blames people for being subjected to these kinds of things. Poverty. It's the poor people's fault. People are on substance use disorder and houseless. It's their fault. Never mind the system that put them there. They're all innocent. Thank you for being honest about that, Steve. Appreciate that. I just have this vision that we should be better than we are, but just people just aren't willing to address the true enemy, which are the people like Peter Thiel and Curtis Yarvin and the billionaire technocrats. They are the fucking threat. They don't want diversity. I read you this soundbite from Peter Thiel. He wants a white society. He is a neo-fucking Yahtzee. He's a proud, loud neo-Yahtzee. He's got people, I think this is true, there are people that are connected to white nationalist organizations that are on his security detail. Yes, Redbird, exactly. It's the system, not the people. Let's take a progressive approach to things. And again, if we had a matriarchy, you'd have those things. They would prioritize compassion. They would prioritize education. They would prioritize opportunity for people to make their lives better. They wouldn't just hand over everything. Hell no. They would just make it so we have a system that could support people. Like, fight for people. What are you fucking fighting for? You're fighting to defend a fucking predator. You're fighting to defend people who are denying the truth about a global sex trafficking network that harmed girls and boys to extremes that we don't even know, they'll probably never fucking know. And you're defending that. And you can call me names, you can call me insults, but you know what I'm defending? I'm defending your right to health care. Your children having access to food, the ability for your family to be able to have access to capital so that you can live with dignity. So you don't have to fucking work until you're 90 years old and then fucking drop dead as a greeter at Walmart. You see the difference? You probably don't. I think we'll end there. Yes, Fuzz, I am defending that. Listen, guys, you know, what we witnessed last night, nobody should be surprised by, to be perfectly honest. That is the game. They live in the world of rhetoric now. And you can see just by the reactions of a guest we had today, you can see where they're at. It's our job to keep the pressure on. Keep the pressure on. 202-224-3121 are those. That's the congressional switchboard. Talk to your representatives. Ask them what they're going to stand for. Demand better. Demand they pass legislation, introduce legislation to overturn Citizens United. Tell them you would support them voting to get rid of the filibuster. Tell them that you want them to introduce legislation to expand the court to 13 Supreme Court justices to align with the circuit courts. Tell them that you want them talking about not extension to the ACA. That ship has sailed. By the way, I've got a fucking bill I got to pay in 3 fucking days, another $900 a month. Not fun, but it is what it is. Tell them you want them to talking about Medicare for all, not just piecemeal approaches to healthcare. You want them to address poverty and food security and raising the federal minimum wage to $20 plus an hour. Do you know why those things are important? Because they're about fucking people. They're not about the fucking glass towers in Silicon Valley and people like Peter Thiel. Fuck those guys. Fuck all of them. I appreciate you guys. I know RTP's live. He did great work last night covering the whatever the hell it was, the State of the Union. Please head on over there, tell him we said hello. Just a last reminder, if you want to support the channel in our endeavors to get out on the road for the Do Something Tour, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can either donate here through Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, at Factsstillmatter. We're tracking our dollars in. We'll track our dollars out. Please do that. Actually, friends, you know what? Do me a solid. Please go raid Smitty. SoCal Smitty. I love Smitty. That dude's doing the work every fucking day as well. I really respect what he does. Please go raid SoCal Smitty. Tell him we sent you. Thank you, mods. Thank you, friends. I appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I appreciate you.